We all saw it. We all saw Eric Burlison in here. We all saw it. Hey, it's going down tonight, y'all. We ain't even started this shit yet. Welcome to Hood Rat Disclosure. It's cracking off, bro. This is fucking nuts. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Where have we found ourselves on this journey, right? What have we done? What have we done? How can we correct it? Well, we're going to have more fun than those first questions would kind of insinuate. This is Hood Rat Disclosure because program disclosure didn't work. Why didn't it work? We got to go over it. We got to go over it. I mean, I'm seeing something alarming, which is not, I don't want to raise the alarm. I'm just like, something is happening here. One of the things that I think is super troubling is the overcompensating or trying to come up with excuses for people like Lue Elizondo. Like, not that he's like a bad guy, but when it comes down to the mistakes that have been made along the way throughout disclosure, month after month, quarter after quarter, a lot of things are falling on Elizondo's shoulders that are showing like, hey, maybe this isn't the guy to be carrying this forward the way that we thought. And that's fine. But there's, we have to establish kind of I think maybe the symptoms and reasonings as to why we keep looking to the same individuals who are kind of letting us down. And why are they letting us down? Right? I mean, these are big questions. Last year, after Lue Elizondo released his book, there were people who were calling attention to some of the stuff that he said in there. Lue also laid out a timeline of his own life that kind of called into question some things. Some stuff Green Street was calling attention to early on, and other people were looking into. Things just weren't checking out. But also we were getting multiple and like different impressions of who Lue was and to who he was that person too. Was he different for different people? Was he fulfilling a job? Was he passionately involved in ufology? Was he not? Did he know a lot or did he not? Was he working for the government or was he working on behalf of, some other buddies of his that had similar interests? These are questions that went unanswered for a while. And I think in that gray zone, everybody's access to people like Lue and the UAP disclosure kind of bros, the access equated to trust. And that is, I think, where we went off the rails. Simply having access to individuals who are whistleblowers or television personalities or whatever, that's not enough. Like, that's not going to carry you over into some kind of like new level of awareness. In fact, that might become a hindrance because now you have to kind of play along. You have to play ball. What do I mean by play ball? Obviously, there's an inner circle, outer circle of this stuff, and it doesn't have to be obvious. Let's go over the facts. James Fox referenced this inner circle when he was about to release his recent documentary, and Jason Sands came out and started talking about it, right? About how there's these rollouts. There's a rollout method, and if you go against it, you would find yourself on the outside of the inner circle. Something that's absolutely needed for people who are trying to get the news out. But again, that access becomes your prison. Now you can't question or criticize, and you're kind of stuck in this loop of, regurgitating the news stories and the statements made by these individuals to a degree that I don't know.
Yeah, Tupa, have you already pointed out the audience?
What do you mean?
Eric Burlison's down there listening. Hey, Eric.
Oh, what's up, Eric?
Appreciate everything you're doing, bro.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Feel free to come up and talk. You have a very obviously like more information here than we do, but if we ever get off the rails or too far off track and you got to pop in, I'd love to know what you know, and also how you're dealing with some of the recent fallout regarding Elizondo and the beef between Elizondo and Luna.
I was already commending him though because he was trying to be a peacemaker there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. He's like, good. Oh, you guys are cool. We don't need to.
Both of you just blame me.
which Red, we've been looking at this for a while. We thought, we were always surprised. I don't want to speak for you here, but the way, the speed in which this stuff would get dirty and the levels of like nastiness that would occur, that would come from this group, I was always surprised by. But the first real peak of it was after the initial congressional hearing with Lue and Gallaudet and Gold and Schellenberger. Right after that, Ivan Hanel went on like a very long Twitter rant and was challenging people like Carl Nell and Danny Sheehan to a MMA fight in the octagon, while also ranting and raving about how much money he makes and how good of a lawyer he is, and how, like, you know, this stuff was very bizarre. Everyone thought it was bizarre. I thought his account got hacked. Frankly,
no, real quick, while we got him here, I did put out this tweet. I'll put it up in the nest. Let's get this NORAD general at the next hearing, Burlison. I think that'd be really good because he commented on the mystery drones. He's current NORAD general, isn't really tied to any ufology stuff. Here's what he said on 60 Minutes a few months ago.
We're the most powerful military on the face of the earth, and yet drones could fly over a major Air Force base, and we couldn't stop them. How is that possible?
Well, I think the threat got ahead of our ability to detect and track the threat. I think all eyes were rightfully overseas, where UAVs were being used in one-way attack to attack U.S. and coalition service members. And the threat in the U.S. probably caught us by surprise a little bit.
A year ago, General Gregory Guillot, a combat veteran, took control of NORAD and NORTHCOM. He ordered a 90-day assessment of...
See, I don't know. What do you think about that, Tupa? Constructive? Who do you want to see at the hearing? Sorry, I kind of commandeered that, but I think, I don't know. I don't want someone from the same circle, you know what I mean? I feel like he's outside the circle and it's like high rank, already publicly spoke about some of this stuff, you know, just my thought. Tupa, are you there? Muted. All right, I guess I'll hold down the fort for now. I can't hear you, Tupa. Okay, there you go.
If you request the mic, we'll get you back up here. Red, I lost the last bit of what you were saying, but it was about getting was it a general?
Yeah, this NORAD general, and I just played the clip saying that, like, that we can't stop the mystery drones over our bases in America. The threat got ahead of our ability. Someone UFO related, outside the circle, uniformed, already willing to talk on 60 Minutes. You know what I mean? I think that'd be a good person
Awesome.
to have at the hearing.
Great suggestion. Great suggestion.
Yeah, what's your suggestion?
I don't know. I mean, my instinct is that there has to be a very hard pivot as far as the disclosure process goes, from what was projected to be happening, what was suggested to be happening. And I think we found ourselves now in a place where we have to reevaluate, have to recalibrate in order to make the next move a positive move that doesn't land us in the same position of being basically caught in the quicksand of the fallout of these very specific individuals and whatever they're dealing with at the moment, right? Like, tying disclosure to these individuals, to any individual, is problematic for this very reason. Red, we saw the writing on the wall. We knew that if this kind of thing kept going, if Elizondo became the cheerleader or mascot of this, that he had a lot of skeletons in his closet and a lot of very strange tendencies that might come up and might basically damage disclosure. And I worry that that's where we're at today. What do you think?
I think we're still in a really good place with like Tulsi Gabbard and Trump. Although I do think Lue is kind of, you know, bless his heart. I don't know if Burlison knows. I'm convinced he's operating a crazy harassment campaign on a lot of whistleblowers, scientists, a bunch of shit.
Well,
But
that's a big claim. What would be the motive? What's a motive? What's a good example of this?
Narrative control. And look into CIFA, and I'm about to blackpill you on CIFA this week, Chupacabra, what he was doing right before he got into.
I heard a little bit about that, what you were talking about with Green Street, and I was very surprised to hear a little bit of it. And
This when you thought we were done getting surprised by him, right?
Yes, lots of surprises, but I mean, it is what we got. Desmo up here. Desmo, please weigh in on this, man. What are your thoughts on the news of the day?
And Desmo, who do you want to see at the hearing?
Oh man, dude, I don't have names for the hearing. Dude, the hearings, I really don't care about the hearings. I want to know what goes on in those skiffs, and that's sort of what I want to ask you guys about. I got some questions and maybe a point to make. So I am unaware. In correct me if I'm wrong on this. This is my own. This is what I'm aware of. I don't think that Lue ever, in any of his claims, claimed to have been in his official capacity made aware of or a firsthand witness to anything, any of this stuff. It was all from other people, talked about from other people, told about by other people. But I am unaware that he ever has testified or claimed that that in his official capacity saw anything. Am I wrong on that?
In official capacity, saw anything?
Correct.
Well, I
Meaning like
wouldn't that
firsthand
wouldn't
witness, like
but wouldn't that
hardware,
have to be a
NHI, any of that stuff, right?
but I don't know. I mean, as the Pentagon's UFO hunter, if he was the director of those programs or that program, you'd think that by nature of him being in there, he would have absolutely came across some of this evidence.
It is a statement of fact that he did tell Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio, that he apparently touched a craft or something like that. And remember, Mike was all convinced it was going to be in the book. But here's the thing, though. Like, that's what I'm saying. The more I look at his behavior, like he's telling a bunch of different people different things in the back channels, and like sending everyone on weird goose hunts, and like even setting up. Burlison might need to listen to this, or maybe some of your staff, like weird interactions with people in IRL where they're dropping like personal data and info about you, and really just Benewitzing people like to the nth degree, bro. Like at bars in public and stuff.
So
These
the point, the statement that I wanted to make with that is I could understand, and it almost sounds, and I didn't hear the space with his lawyer today, but I can almost understand him wanting to obfuscate and maybe not go directly into a skiff to testify under oath that he has or has not seen anything, because as of right now, it's unclear in the public perception. It's unclear exactly what he is aware of and what he has seen and done.
all right,
And
guys.
if
Well,
he goes
I'm gonna
into the
pause you.
skiff, he
I'm gonna
has to
pause you
go
there.
in and
So
hammer that down.
this has come up before. I think Jay Justy brought this up too, and I got to shoot it down, dude. Like, there's this idea that like he's not the right guy to bring in anyway. He's not dodging anything. He's trying to help Congress out by just avoiding their fucking skiff, dude. No, that makes no sense
I'm not
whatsoever.
claiming that he's doing it. I think he's doing it because it will damage his credibility should he go into the skiff. That's
Well,
my
I
own
think he's in
personal opinion
trouble.
on it.
How could it damn? What do you mean? Like, because he's lying,
Because
or
he has been so, in my opinion, he's been very overly vague about what he has done in his experiences and what he continues to do, right? And if he goes into a skiff, he has to be hammered down on facts under oath, right? He doesn't have
no?
the
I
I
agree with
can't
you.
talk about this
I
stuff.
agree with you.
You
And
know what I
so
mean?
I think that in my opinion, that's one of the likeliest reasons he's not going in is because and one of the likeliest reasons why he's being asked to go in is because of things that he has said, things that he's backed up, things that he's told people. I know from from the reports, at least, people who've been in contact with Lou, people, you know what I mean, that he is a people pleaser. He will say things to anyone in the like it seems like he'll tell people anything as long as they're like eating. It's very weird, the stories I'm getting, and how, much of a, I don't want to say pathological liar, but I do want to say like he is just selling wolf tickets like anywhere to anyone who will listen. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why Congress is like, hey bro, like, you're talking all this talk, you're like the top guy, come in and tell us what you know what I mean? And so I think there's a big discrepancy, a deficit, a gap between what he said versus what he can actually say on the record. But we got hands up here. We got Trozen, then Missile Man. I want to thank you guys all for being here. We're kind of continuing the space from Astro. Give the space a like, a retweet, repost it out there. We had Eric Burlison in here. I'm sure there's more people in here from Congress who need to know this stuff, kind of raw dogging it, because a lot of them, and I mean this, Congress has been insulated from this community. Congress has been insulated. They've been told and scared away from some of us. You know what I mean? And we know that. And so now,
I mean, you heard you were there when Greenstreet said tonight, right, about what Lue had apparently texted Sean Kirkpatrick about citing Greenstreet in his Scientific American article. Yeah, that's happening all the time, bro.
Oh, he's like, he's a criminal, he's a pervert, like all
He's
this
a
stuff.
woman beater. He's this,
Well,
he's that.
you know what's funny is that sounds exactly like the Felon 5 incident, which everyone was like, no, he didn't say it like that. He didn't say it. It was like, oh, okay, sure, he didn't say it like that. And I don't want to turn this into a Lue bashing session because it's kind of like we're beating a dead horse. But Ivan Hanel, the dynamic between lawyers and clients and
Lue's at the center of all this shit right now this week.
Yes, he's at the center of it. So this isn't necessarily about bashing this dude, but it is about exposing, or at least really talking about what this means. Because for me, my position, I'm down to argue it. I think it's time to go back to the drawing board and just do this again. Figure out where we went wrong, try it again, don't make those same mistakes. That's my idea, that's my impression. Let's get to Trozen, then Missile Man. We got John Strader in here. Again, if you just piped into the space, give it a like or retweet, let people know what's going on. Go ahead, Trozen.
Yeah, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in for the hearing, who we should bring forward. We were talking about this in the last space. So Jay Stratton, 100%. Feel like he needs to be there. Kogowski needs to be subpoenaed, and then possibly Dick Cheney, from what we've been hearing.
Dick Cheney would be wild. I mean, yeah, if we're subpoenaing people now, right? If we lose the first subpoena, isn't that funny? It's been kind of hype for a while. Lue ends up being the first one. But yeah, no, if we could just subpoena whoever the fuck, Dick Cheney would actually be pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I feel like he's a hostile witness. He's one of the hostile witnesses, probably. And
because we've heard Grusch say, right, our guy secondhand, I don't think he's ever named him, but the guy who interviewed him said that Grusch had told him that he's kind of one of the heads of it all, at least for a certain time period he was.
I mean, Jay Stratton's already come forward on the age of disclosure and started dropping stuff. So I feel like he would be open to talking about some of these things, and he's more in the know than Lue is. I feel like he needs to go up there and say what he knows, what he can say anyways.
All right. Well, and while the congressman's listening, John Strader, you got a recommendation for who you want to see at the hearing?
Missile Man was before me.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Missile Man and then Strader.
Yeah, I'll answer the first question first. Desmo said, does anyone have any reason to believe that Elizondo isn't afraid of getting a SCIF, and has he ever said that he saw something? In the last hearing in the fall, he indicated that he signed an NDA in 2021 related to crash retrieval. That's during his period of employment with Space Force. So that does indicate that he has personal knowledge, whether it be digital or in person or what have you. That indicates firsthand knowledge in some form or another, digital or whatever, of evidence of NHI.
Hell yeah.
To Burlison staff, who you should call: Eric Schrock, former executive with Lockheed Martin Skunk Works; Jim Takelet, current CEO of Lockheed Martin; Kathy Warden, current CEO of Northrop Grumman; Dr. Marty Mantell, current CTO of Lockheed Martin; Scott Stapp, current CTO of Northrop Grumman. Those people will know the answers. There's no question about it. That's who you call.
You think they would know? Or I always imagine they have like a secret Lockheed within Lockheed that like even the main people don't even know about. You think that's happening?
This is the C-suite level. They have to know because they have to they have to guide the future of the corporation. Besides, Burlison staff knows about the corporate portfolio program, which is a U.S. government program started in 2020 that's designed to create a floating bucket of SAP tickets for any major defense contractor to guarantee that their C-suite and senior fellows are able to access any and all SAPs, waived, unacknowledged TS, what have you, no matter whether they run out of SAP tickets or not. And all that's created specifically so that the C-suite is able to access all of their waived, unacknowledged SAPs.
So you're saying that Lue Elizondo said that in 2021, when he worked for Space Force, after all the disclosures in basically him resigning from his position as a civil servant, as a contractor, he signed an NDA with Space Force for crash retrieval. So you're saying that he said that on the record?
He didn't say with Space Force, but yes, he did say in 2021. And they started asking penetrating questions about where this NDA was signed. He said in a SCIF, who was present, were there lawyers, did they tell you what it meant, et cetera, et cetera. It was in front of Congress last fall.
All right, yeah, so in 2021,
we were in the room, And the thing that irritates me, and like if Lue's going to retain any credibility at all, they asked him a lot of pointed questions after he'd already raised his hand and said he swore to tell the truth. And in that, he said, I can only talk to you about A, B, C, or D, whenever they would ask him these questions in a classified SCIF. So it's like if Lue's going to maintain any credibility, he's going to have to get in a SCIF. He's going to have to spill something that doesn't put, you know what I mean? And they're going to have to come out and say, wow, Lue really showed us some shit. He really pointed us towards something. Otherwise, like, I feel like, what was the point of standing up in Congress and saying, I can't tell you anything unless we can get in a classified SCIF, but
Well,
I'm going to avoid the SCIF like the fucking
Well,
plague.
hold on.
Burlison's
I
people
have a very you asked a question. I want to get to it real fast. We'll get Missile Man in here. The question you asked was, what was the point of the hearing? What was the point of his testimony? What was the point of it if he's not going to follow through with any of that stuff? 90% of the things that Lue talked about at that hearing was about him being harassed. He was the victim of harassment. He was the victim of people like looking into him, the FBI, like you know what I mean, investigations. He was the victim. That's 90% of the things he said were not related to UFOs. He invoked 9/11. Like he did all this random stuff. Like that's what I found to be so strange, was that's what he used the platform for, to establish as himself as the victim of some kind of harassment. I just go back and look and read it. It's very
They don't
bizarre.
see it yet,
You
Tupa.
were brutally victimizing him, Tupa and Red. Come on.
I am now. I'm making all these fucking songs, and he's looking good in the kitchen and shit. But back then, no way.
I was just going to say, in terms of Lue being afraid of going in the SCIF, Burleson staff can attest to the fact that they canceled the April SCIF session the day before the UAP science briefing. Not Lue, not anybody else. They, for whatever their reasons were, I won't speculate what they were, but you know, the House staff gave one excuse and Luna gave a different one, and neither of them had anything to do with Lue Elizondo. While future sessions might have been like up to him to not show, that one didn't have anything to do with him.
I agree with you, Mr. Man, believe it or not. I think if you look at it really like in a microcosm, it does kind of seem like the shadiness is kind of maybe just coming from the scheduling on the other end, because like 3 days notice, canceled, and then we're going to call you SCIF Lue. But my personal theory is that it's all theater because they want it to look like this. You know what I mean? Because I think they're trying to publicly separate, you know what I mean, in a clean way.
Dude, it could go, right now. I mean, I agree with Red, but it could still go either way. But I want to get to the hands. We have Kent and Ocean, and then I want to talk to Missile Man. I'm glad you're here, dude, and Desmo. I want to talk about something that we've avoided a lot of because we hear it and we think, oh, they're lying. Circular reporting. Okay, we now have hindsight. It's time to really be honest about the circular reporting going on in the UAP disclosure front amongst the small group of people, because this has been damaging and it will continue to be damaging unless we figure out how to stop this. Like, something's going on. We got to diversify our bonds here. We can't be going to the same core 4 or 5 people. But before we get into that, we got Kent and then Ocean. Thank you guys for being here. Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, hi Tupa. Hi everyone. Thanks for letting me have a mic. My question is this: if a whistleblower comes into AARO and gives their testimony, and AARO decide to classify that and not release it to the public, is that information going to be lost forever to the public? Are we the public?
I think Mr. Man answered this last space. I think you got a good reply for this, right, Mr. Man?
Well, I think Ken's question is a little different. Someone asked, if you discuss something in a SCIF that's, you know, was never classified before, does it magically become classified? The answer is no. But Ken's question is valid. I think, yes, it probably will disappear because as a whistleblower, you were led to believe that AARO is your go-to, and you go there and divulge your information and it goes down the drain, it disappears, you never hear about it again. And now, here's an interesting question. We should ask somebody this. Do you get NDA when you make a disclosure to AARO? I don't know the answer to that question.
What they're doing with AARO and these witnesses is the same shit they did in Blue Book with classified versus unclassified disclosures of those things, right? And you're getting the unclassified, I hate to say it, but the same BS that you got in Blue Book, you're getting out of AARO right now, and they're retaining all the classified information that could potentially be used to validate some of these claims that are being made. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not aware of AARO ever
the
having released a classified report internally to the government. If they have, I'm not aware of it.
Dude, I want to get into this AARO situation because the disclosure bros found themselves on the opposite end of AARO, you know, at an adversarial way multiple times. And I have my own feelings about that. And we'll get into it.
And real
but
quick to Missile Man's point, during the New Jersey drone wave, there was a classified AARO briefing where like the shapes were classified. I don't know if you remember that. And I could have swore something similar happened during the 2023 February flyovers.
Didn't
Well,
the drone
allegedly
flyover
the
start right at the same time as the hearing? Like it
Yeah,
literally the flap started
right after.
the first reported
right
drones
then.
over Picatinny Arsenal were November 13th, the same day as the hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like it started right then. Crazy.
right.
But if I'm not mistaken, it was an annual occurrence. Isn't that right? Over the course of a handful of years, in the same period of time of the year.
That's true. That's true too.
In different parts of the country, though, or even like off the West Coast. And this one was definitely, I think, bigger. Maybe it was just over a
And
more
the
populated
UK.
area.
And the UK.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to Ocean and then let's dive into the circular reporting because this is fucking crazy. Go ahead.
Hell
Ocean.
yeah, great space tonight. I'm just coming back from running my dog, but I love to see Eric and others joining in or listening into the conversations. It's really nice for that. We're talking about who would we like to see in a SCIF. I would love to see Hal Putoff for sure. He's one of the OGs. And Charles Chase is another one who worked on the compact fusion reactor for Lockheed Martin. I would love to see what he would have to say in a SCIF about the advanced technologies and how they might be related to the UAP. So that's all I have to add for now. And thanks for hosting, Tupa.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
No, those are good suggestions. All right, so this has come up multiple times. It's kind of a weird topic because I think even the true believers and the Lue crew, whatever you want to identify yourself as, I think even y'all know it. Y'all know about this circular reporting. And when it was brought up by people like AARO or Kirkpatrick or any of these other already designated foes of disclosure, right? There's this immune response that this community does, and it just kind of mutes it out. But the facts are there. There are individuals in the upper tier who are presenting, they appear to be not divulging how connected they are behind the scenes, and people in Congress are not aware that they're getting corroborating evidence from multiple sources, but all of those sources they're in the same group. They've been friends for years. They've been working together for years. So some of them are in the same companies. That to me is deceptive. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you be upfront about that? Missile Man, Desmo, what are you guys seeing on the front of circular reporting? And do you think it's as big as a problem as I do?
And Desmond got blocked by Lue. Let's just be clear,
Yeah, I don't even know why.
How
No
did you
clue
get
why.
blocked by
Welcome
Lue? You
to the
talking
club.
shit.
Yeah,
Dude, it's probably
but
just in our spaces too much, dude. That's probably all it was.
probably. So circular reporting, right? From the top down, right? Think about an upside down pyramid. You got in an upside down pyramid, you got the big large base at the top. Think about those as all the influencers, all the people with voices that have the ability to reach an audience, right? And then you have the people that's feeding them information. And then the smaller group of people, as you get down towards the bottom, that are feeding those people information and how it's all disseminating. So at the very bottom of that upside down pyramid is the problem, in my opinion, is probably 2, 3, 4 sources, not very many, that has spread this amongst the people as it trickled up to the influencer realm. And I think that's a really good example of what I fucking hate that AARO report, right? That came out, but there is some truth to that AARO report that came out. And in regards to that circular reporting, there was a lot of mistruths and inaccuracies as well, right? But that part of it definitely does seem true. And it's really frustrating because I feel like, in my opinion, Lue Elizondo, if you think about that upside down pyramid area, he's like not at the influencer level, but the one just below it, right? And that makes me suspicious of his motives and what he's saying. But again, this is just from my perception of what I've seen him say, right? But that's my thoughts on it,
No,
man. I don't
that's
want to
great.
harp on it more.
So soon we'll outline what the circle is, who's in the circle, and how it works. But I want to get everybody's impression of it first, so we can kind of weigh out like how big of an issue is this. We got Missile Man coming up next, and then we got Average Chris. Missile Man, what do you think about circular reporting? Is it as big of an issue as I think it is?
I understand the perception of it being perceived as circular. I don't think it's as circular as it's being made out to appear based on the following. If you go back in time and you march forward the group of people that today we talk about being aware or being part of this circle, back to the 60s and the 70s, the oldest is Hal Puthoff. And then you move forward and eventually you get someone like Russell Targ and Ingo Swann and John Peterson and Kit Green. And you have to march all the way forward to the 90s before you get to someone like Eric Davis. And then you have to march all the way forward to the 2000s before you get to someone like Lue Elizondo and Chris Mellon. And then you have to march forward to the 2010s before you get to somebody like David Grusch. And then you have to march even further forward to get to somebody like Carl Nell. And so it's being made to appear like a circle in the modern day because we still have the old timers from the 70s and 80s who were around then and who were around in the 90s and the 2000s. But the group is clearly growing in population over time. Carl Nell is not a part of the stuff in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s. Neither is David Grusch. Those people are not part of any kind of circular reporting that goes back decades and decades. It's merely a growing group of people who have been vocal and active since at least the 90s or early aughts. But there's clearly people who have been added to it over time. So I don't believe it's as circular as it's being made to appear.
Good points, and I agree with some of that stuff for sure, right? I really do. Something I thought of when you were talking about it was how no one knew that Lue Elizondo, for the first couple years of him being kind of out post 217, right? Lue Elizondo was so connected to Hal Puthoff. In fact, when it came up, by I think it was McGowan, Red, correct me if I'm wrong here. Jeremy McGowan was the one who said that Lue said that he had remote viewing powers and he was a psychic, and everyone was like, "Fuck that! No, he didn't. He didn't say that shit." And he didn't really confess about it. But then he releases his book, and lo and behold, in the 2000s, he was he was remote viewing detainees with his friends at the Pentagon. So according to his book, and he calls up Hal Puthoff and goes, "Hey, boss, look what happened," and he wasn't surprised. So while Lue we know about him in 2017, and we know that he's connected kind of post then, clearly that relationship goes back decades.
Yes, my quick response would just be that observable is equally logical from the perspective of circular reporting as it is from the perspective that Hal Puthoff was always authentic from the beginning, right? Because if the old timer has actual comprehension of what you're dealing with, it would track that more recent individuals looking into the phenomenon would end up back at those people. So
okay, yeah. Fair point. Average Chris, welcome to the show, man. I loved a lot of stuff you were saying in astral space. What do you think about all this stuff, and weigh in on the circular reporting, dog?
Hey, so I really don't have anything to say as far as that goes, but I know we've been speculating all night since Green Street's post came out. But I just would like to say Representative Burlison is in the room, and I would love for him to just come up and give the answers instead of us speculating and just get right to the chase. Because there's other things that we need to know about what's going on.
We'll shoot him an invite. I mean, but
yeah.
Missile Man wants to harp in that's just his staff, though, Tupa. Not really, Bruce.
It's hard also because it's a
But we have
recorded
to be
space
respectful and nice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's totally fine. I got a chance to talk to Eric himself, not a staffer, right? Through his spaces, diligent spaces, and
broke the internet.
This made world news, and it was crazy. But I got a chance to talk to Eric, and I've talked to him before, but about the sources came up.
He's up, by the way. Welcome, Congressman Burlison.
Oh, welcome to the stage.
Or staff. We'll see who's right. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Eric, welcome, man. Good to talk to you again, Congressman. Last time we spoke, the statements went all around the world. A lot of the salacious ones, but something we talked about too was how you had spoken to, I think, people like Jake Barber, Elizondo, and Grusch. and how their stories kind of like lined up, and they were corroborating one another. And for me, I think those guys are kind of connected behind the scenes with multiple different endeavors and belief systems. And so I wasn't surprised that those guys were kind of like, all on the same page with a lot of this stuff. How do you feel about that now? And are you noticing anything now? And I mean, beyond all that, what are your feelings about this back and forth between Luna and Elizondo as it stands today? I wish his staffer just popped in.
Still love the
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes, we can
Missile
hear you
Man
now, Eric.
debunked. Welcome, Mr. Burlison.
Hey, yeah, this is Eric. Thank you for your patience. I was listening as I was eating dinner. I just I've been traveling. In fact, I've traveled to. I spent the whole day traveling to get to see somebody that is a whistleblower for
Oh,
this
wow.
topic.
Wow.
So,
Well,
in
thank you
fact,
for all the work you're putting in on this. You're
yeah,
putting boots on the
and
ground. Do we appreciate it?
this is the third
Really do,
trip
man.
that I've made this this August recess. So when everybody else is fundraising, I'm spending this time heads down on this. So let me give you an idea. There is a lot of miscommunication as to what happened in April. So we had a SCIF briefing set up with Lue and the group of people that he was bringing in, and at that, what the goal was. Let me back up. So when we got this task force put together, the staff for this task force were people that were fresh off of investigating Biden and doing financial forensics. They were doing, I mean, the staff are basically former prosecutors, and they're not familiar with the intelligence community. And so when they were assigned to this new task force, it just wasn't working. They were great with the JFK files. They were great with all the assassination files, but they weren't really focused on UAPs. In fact, I'll just be honest, like there was some meetings that we would have where some of the staff were giggling, and you could tell that they didn't take the topic seriously. So that's kind of where things were, right? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, so that's why I really felt like we had to bring somebody else in that was that knew this area, that knew the intelligence community, and what better person than David Grusch? So we hired David. I had to bend over backwards to figure out a way to make it work in my office and legally hire him, and then go about trying to get his top secret clearance renewed and to get his TSSCI clearance. So he's able to get the TS clearance, but not able to get the TSSCI. So we were still waiting for Tulsi's office to approve that. So that's kind of waiting out there, right? We get to the April week. On Monday, Grusch flies in. He and I have a meeting with AARO, a very productive meeting. And I will say, at that meeting, it became abundantly clear that I'd made the right decision, because AARO was not as informed as Grusch is on this entire topic. In fact, they were picking Grusch's brain. When you're in a room and they're literally like turning all attention to him and trying to pull information out of him, it became clear that the person that really knows what's going on. And he was giving them advice on what to do, where to go, where to look, who to talk to, all of those things. But we left that meeting, and I'm an employer, so I'm going to be very cautious as to what I'm going to say here. He immediately had some health issues and felt like he needed to fly home to see his doctor, and I'm going to leave it at that. He's kind of alluded to some of these health issues, but they are work related, and it was truly an emergency. He had to go home, which left the committee. So now we have the committee who doesn't care about this topic. I mean, respectfully, this is not their number one priority. And Grusch is gone. They were leaning on Grusch, and then in addition, I mean, on top of this, Grusch did not have his TSSCI clearance. So had he stayed, the plan was to have, a briefing with Lue and the other members at the top secret level. And then at the moment that we had to talk about things that are at the TSSCI level, Grusch would have to have stepped out, or anybody that's not at the TSSCI level would have to leave. And that was problematic. So, and that was kind of part of the decision matrix. So let me just say, Grusch being sick, and then the fact that you had the staff for the oversight committee who were saying, we are not prepared for this. Please reschedule this hearing for a week or 2 weeks down the road. And then they had already scheduled my committee hearing. I'm the chairman of Energy, Economic Growth, and Regulatory Reform. They had scheduled that hearing at the exact same time as the briefing. So I would have had to turn over my hearing to somebody else to chair my own hearing. And it just was a big cluster. And so we rescheduled, and that's why we had to reschedule for 2 weeks later. But unfortunately, the date that worked with everybody's calendars on every member, the members of Congress that were related to this topic, that date did not work for Lue. And so Lue immediately was not, I mean, he made it very clear from the beginning that he wasn't going to be able to make it. And then on the day of the hearing, we found out that Christopher Mellon truly had pneumonia. And so, and I frankly, my attitude on all of this is that I'm going to take these people at their word. I think that this is this is heightened. A lot of tensions are very much on the surface. People are really concerned about perception and reputation and all of that. And at the end of the day, I don't really care about that stuff. I just want to get to the truth, and I want to get the information and get it disclosed. And so I hope that answers your questions on where things are.
Yeah, and more. Thank you for being so transparent here. I mean, it's really helping to, like you said, like in the absence of some of this information, tensions are high. People are going to jump to to conclusions, and you can't deny that the last 8 months for Lue and for all this stuff has kind of been rough, right? With the pictures being released and him exiting from the UAPDF. So some people are fearing the worst, myself included. So it's really good to have you here explaining this stuff rationally. I appreciate it. Would you be down to take some questions from some of the speakers up here?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. We have Missile Man.
And real quick, I want to get one in there too.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us? I miss Grusch. Can you tell us a fun Grusch story or anything like that? What's he like in DC? You guys have any good times? Go to bars or anything like that together?
David is he's a great guy. I don't. He's not exactly. I don't know. I'll tell you this. This is funny. I found this funny. So my team, we have a weekly meeting, and David is kind of a special employee, so we don't really expect him to appear at our team meetings, like our Zoom call meetings each week, but he does. and it's kind of it's I find it endearing that he does attend those meetings.
Nice. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Okay. So you said Missile Man first, right, Tupa?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Man.
Hey, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for appearing. I wanted to tell you, I grew up in Cole County and educated in Phelps County next door to your district. So appreciate you taking a serious interest in this subject. We had a
So
chance to speak
did you
briefly.
grow up in Rolla, or where?
Yeah,
specifically?
Jeff City, undergrad in Rolla. Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Mr. Grusch doesn't have the SCI portion of his TS clearance. Has he been able to accompany you into a SAP qualified SCIF to have a complete discussion of his experience on UAPTF, or is any of that information restricted by virtue of his not having a renewed SCI?
It is restricted, and to answer your question, we've not been able to do that, and as a result, ironically, he works for me. I still don't know everything that he knows.
Sure. So quick follow-up. You mentioned that AARO was really following his lead in a discussion that you had. That must have been even just at the TS level minus SAP readings, even so.
So that was probably at that level, because there was things that he was able to talk to the AARO staff about that they weren't even willing to talk to me about.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I got a serious one, and then we'll get around to more hands. Co-host. So me and Tupa, we've really been investigating kind of what you were saying, I think kind of alluding to this sudden sickness that Grusch had after AARO. Have you or your staff experienced any kind of weird tampering for maybe like some defense contractors, or any kind of messing with your furniture in your home, anything like that from you or your staff since you've been diving into this?
No, and I hope that I'm not just obtuse to all of it, but no, we've not experienced anything. I think that being very high profile is a good thing.
Yeah. All right. I think Average Crisp's next, and then John Strader.
How's it going, sir? So just a quick question. There's always been like a little bit of fuzziness about, why Grusch left his original position. Have you ever talked to anybody from NGA or anything when you were trying to get his clearance back on why exactly he left and things of that nature? Because it's always been kind of speculative. Sometimes things that he said in public has not exactly lined up with things he said behind closed doors. So I was wondering if you ever has there been any questions asked about why he left the NGA, especially a position that he said he was in?
I think that with Grusch and with Lue, they both are, kind of Boy Scouts. They really, both of them are driven by a passion that's and an idealism that is beyond their role now, and both of them highly respect because of that. They don't want to violate any kind of security for the United States government or their clearances. So I'll put it this way: my experience with both of them is that I truly feel like they both are trying to do everything they can to release as much information as they legally can, under whatever framework that they're allowed. And so I think that about Lue as well. Like Lue, the more that I've gotten to know Lue, because I'll tell you, the first meeting that I had with Lue was a breakfast meeting, and this was before even the Grusch hearing happened. And I asked Lue if I point blank asked him, I said, the narrative is that you might be a disinformation agent. How do you want to respond to that? How do I know that what you're telling us is not, it is not a lie? And so from that moment, I mean, his response was good, but it wasn't in it wasn't in a disclosed setting, so he wasn't under oath. So I kind of took it with a grain of salt, and I felt adequate with what he said at that moment. But what I will say is that since that moment, I have not. I've seen the actions of an individual who really just is trying to do everything he can to release whatever he can that he's been cleared to release. And I say that because it's very clear that Lue is wanting to say whatever he can under whatever clearance that he's allowed to say it.
So these photos, these
Hold on.
photo blunders, what do you chalk
Can
those
I
up to?
can I have some follow up questions real quick?
Real quick, let me just answer that and then go for it. But what do you, when you see these like photo after fake photo, and then there was the one of the baby in the back channels, what do you make of that? Just he's making a mistake?
I don't know about the baby in the back channels photo, but the photo that he showed us at the, I can't remember what they called that briefing.
That was like the UAPDF kind of like roundtable or
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. The same briefing that Eric Davis said that there's 4 aliens. Lue showed this photo, and if you watch that briefing, Lue is very clear that he wasn't able to vet the photo, that he had just been given the photo from a friend who was a pilot.
That morning, right? Is it what he said?
Right.
Right.
And I'm gonna let me chalk this up to all of us can kind of fall prey to this human nature of feeling like we want to deliver, right? So
Absolutely.
and so you kind of in this situation, you feel the pressure, you feel like you've got to bring the goods, if you, and so that I think that keep in mind, like whether it's a member of Congress who's doing this, in a format, whether it's in an interview or format, sometimes you feel like you've got to deliver, you've got to answer questions that you really have not completely thought through.
Right.
Oftentimes we're put on the spot, and it's really a hard position to be in, to where you say, you know what, I don't really have a full answer for that, so I'm gonna pass, because you feel like you're being vulnerable, and you're admitting to the world that you don't know everything, and that's a hard place to be.
All right, Chris, go for your follow-up, and then we're going to pass it to John, and we do have a bunch of requests, so we're going to be cycling people around.
Right, I got it. I mean, I did ask him to come up here, so give me a few minutes. So,
Please.
we didn't really get to answer the Grusch question, but since we're on Elizondo, so we were just talking about the photo, but this isn't the first photo. He was caught doing another photo that actually ended up being a glare in the background. For somebody who was in it, and he was saying it was a UFO mothership, and he said he even went as far as saying he confirmed with pilots that they were seeing the same thing when it actually was just a reflection. So my question is this: as an intelligent, as someone who worked in the intelligence community, he should be held to a higher standard. It's very apparent that his, at least investigation skills, are very poor, and he's been caught multiple times doing this thing. So at what point does credibility start to creep in? He could be the nicest guy in the world, but you're talking about a guy that's been on the front end of things since 2017 with the New York Times. He's been the face of this movement, and yet he has been caught several times now, either proposing false photos. He's stated that he's held certain positions when in fact he didn't. So at what point does that start to creep in, and credibility matters? That's kind of where I think a lot of the room, we've been questioning tonight about like what's been going on in the back channels with these arguments, and that's starting to stick out. And then all of a sudden we're hearing that Grusch is calling Lue to come in and spill the details per certain sources online. So I know you're saying that Lue's a nice guy, but where should we be with this as far as his credibility? Because I see it lacking. And as somebody who works in that same realm in the intelligence community, I think it's a very poor look on him to say, hey, here are these things, they are this, and they end up not being that. Does that concern you at all?
It does, yeah. And I would say it's not that I patently trust everybody. You've got to kind of trust but verify. What I found in this experience is that a lot of people are trying to get you to stop listening to others that are involved in this conversation. And if I really kind of, if I held a high litmus test to everybody, then I probably wouldn't be able to have conversations with anybody. And so, but at the end of the day, I have to take what everybody's telling me at face value and decide, you know, oftentimes what people are telling me is secondhand information, and I've got to kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Last question, as far as on an unclassed level, can you give us what was the outcome or the results of Grusch's ICIG complaint? We've speculated for years that people said they know, they don't know. Grusch has stated that he filed a reprisal complaint with ICIG, stating that he received reprisals, which I think essentially led to him leaving the NGA. Can you give us some insight into what? I mean, I'm assuming your office has at least looked into that portion. What was found on that? Because there's a lot of speculation in this domain about Grusch and that, and anything you can disclose for that on an unclassed level.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is still an ongoing investigation.
It's been 2 years. That's a long time.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would encourage you. I don't know if you said you take people's information at face value. There's a lot of this in this community. There's a lot of UFO lore. There's a lot of claims that been said. There's a lot of circular reporting. There are some people out here that you can reach out to for sure. That can help. And I would encourage. I know there's people are going to hate this when I say it, but there are skeptics also that look into this, that are into this UFO community, and we want the answers just like everybody else. So I would definitely encourage at least your staffers to reach out to some of these people. I know Missile Man's very knowledgeable. I'm in here. There's certain people working in the Department of Defense in here. Like there's people that can speak to some of this stuff. I would highly encourage you guys to reach out.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Great questions, by the
John.
way. Go ahead, John Strader.
John Strader, then Kent, and we're going to be cycling people up. And also, Tupa, if you want to co-host someone else, we could have one more speaker.
Let's find another co-host. Thank you. Let's all be I cannot thank you enough, Congressman.
Co-host
Burlison.
experience.
This is super awesome that you're here. Everyone retweet the space, get it out there. If you have questions pop up, we're going to be cycling through all the speakers as long as Eric can last. Let's get over to John Strader, and then we'll go through the line after that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. What a great space. Congressman Burlison, so awesome to have you here talking with us. This is amazing. I was actually in the November hearing in the room while you guys were grilling Elizondo, and he was not able to answer many of your questions. So my question to you is, if you can get Lue in a SCIF, what kinds of questions do you really want to ask him? I mean, that way we're not getting the answer of classified data, but what are the things you guys are really looking for that will point you in the directions to help push this disclosure movement forward?
That's a good question. I think that I think that Lue knows a lot more than what he's written in his book, and I think that part of that is that he has a. I mean, in my opinion, he's a Boy Scout, and he's not going to violate his NDA. So he's going to do everything he can that is outside of the non-disclosure agreement. And so if we get him into a SCIF, and particularly if we have, and the truth is, we could go into the SCIF, and for one of the conversations that is cropped up is about subpoenaing these people, right? a subpoena doesn't really get you any information. What's important is that they get cleared before the briefing by all the parties involved, whether it's ODNI or the House Armed Services Committee or the House Intelligence Committee. So if they have cleared that briefing, then there's no excuse. And it's not an excuse. It's if you're Lue, you've signed an NDA, and you don't, and so you don't want to lose. You don't want to go to jail, right? So I think that's the situation. We've got to give them every avenue possible to let them say what they want to say.
I absolutely understand that. I'm just wondering, like, what kind of questions would you really try to push in if you could get access to? And then a follow-up question I'll just do now is, do you guys, besides Lue or like David Grusch, are there other people that are on your high priority list that you all are seeking to get in to testify either openly in Congress or to come and testify in a classified SCIF?
We do have a list. Grusch is mostly working that list. Some of them are not willing to come in, and so we're kind of those members that are not those individuals that are not willing to come in voluntarily. We potentially might subpoena those individuals. When it comes to Lue and what I would ask him, how much knowledge do you have about the legacy program? How much personal knowledge, intimate knowledge do you have, experience with the legacy program? I would ask the I would ask for locations. I would ask for other individuals, and if he's had personal direct contact, because that's not something that he's talked about before, but I believe that he probably has. I believe that he's probably had personal direct contact.
Congressman Burlison, thank you so much for your answer there. I'm going to go ahead and there's a lot of people in here who'd love to talk to you. I know your time is limited. Thank you so much for coming in the space. We hope that this will become a regular occurrence, and I cannot wait to see what happens at the next hearings, and hopefully you'll get these people subpoenaed. We can push this forward because this is historic that we have members of Congress like yourself actually digging into this. As someone who's been studying this for over 40 years, this is a historic time. That's why I was there at the hearings in November, and I support you guys pushing forward. I know that it's an uphill battle, but I'm glad you're a warrior on our side.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're gonna get to the next hands. I also want to just bring attention that we have Deep Prasad up here, Darcy Weir. These are like some really heavy hitters, documentarians, scientists in the community. It's great to have you guys up here, man. Hell yeah.
I think it was Kent next, and great to see you, Deep. And co-host someone, bro. I'm trying to get all these people.
Oh yeah,
up
hey
here.
Missile Man, how's your block list? I want to get you in here as a co-host if that'd be cool with you.
I don't have anybody in here blocked. I'm good.
Let's go for it. All right, man. I'll get you in.
Boom, there it is. All right, Kent Reynolds, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Red. Thanks, Tupa. Thanks, Congressman Burlison. Thank you for the privilege of being able to speak. I've got a lot of respect for David. Please pass on my respects if you don't mind, if you get a chance. But David testified in a congressional hearing under testimony. This is something that can be perjury if he's telling a lie. And he said that there were 50 programs that had been notified to AARO and to the various parties that are important in this whole debate. Are those 50 programs going to be used as the basis for any of the hearings that are coming up in September? Will any of the project managers or program contracts be called into the subpoena list? Do you know?
I don't know that I would go about it that way. I would say that David has interviewed, probably 4 dozen people before he he left the government, and his experience in those interviews is what's kind of driving who we're going to bring forward in the next hearing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Ken, you want to follow up?
Well,
Are you good?
I was just going to say, I've done a lot of contractual law. I've negotiated a lot of big contracts, and I would have thought the way to go down the path of getting discovery for disclosure would be to start getting hold of the contracts that have been, they're owned by the government. They're owned by your government. And I would have thought getting those contracts into the mix and being able to have an analyst analyze them and the eminent domain clauses and the NDA clauses would have been the way to go. It's just an opinion, mate. That's all. Thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
And a lot of that, those financial questions are things that if we can only get so far, and then we can, I think that what we're planning to do is after the next hearing or at the next hearing is issue letters to all the contractors that you all are aware of that are the way that Grusch, they're called interrogatories. And in order to get them to have to come forward to tell us information. And so that's part of our plan.
Very cool. I think next was Tyler. Tyler, you available? If not, okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't on the screen. Thanks, Representative Burlison. I really appreciate you coming up here. It's really awesome to get involved like this. I had a question for you regarding whistleblowers. If you have a whistleblower that has classified information that they want to share, about the UFO topic and to prove their credibility, and they want to be vetted in order to be a witness, at the hearing or in a SCIF, what process would you want them to follow in order to be properly vetted? Given that if they have, because it's kind of a catch-22, because to be vetted, they have to prove that they know information, but then that's classified information. So how do they share that with you to prove that they're legit? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like a wink, wink sort of thing. Like, hey, I know stuff. Like, how do you go about it?
So, having Grusch on staff is the key. So he is able to do background checks on individuals, and he knows everybody. He knows a ton of people in the intelligence community, so he's able to kind of verify if people are being accurate about what they're saying.
Has there been some where he was like, "Oh, that person's that didn't check out when I looked into it"?
There have definitely been conversations, and I've spoken to a lot of people, not a lot, but a handful of people that Grusch is highly suspicious of, and is is warning me about. If that gives you an idea.
That's good to know. So that way it's not just blanket, like yes, 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 all around. All right, Tyler, you got a follow up, and then we'll get.
Yeah, I'd appreciate just one quick follow up. Thank you for offering that. Representative Burlison, I wanted to know with the TSSCI clearance, which I guess Grusch is still trying to get, or he has it. Either way, once he has it, why don't you just hop in a SCIF, just you and him? Have him explain to you the locations, because he said in the hearing he testified that he knows the locations, he knows the names of all these people. Why do you have to play this like ring around the rosy with other people? Can't you just jump in a SCIF with him, have him tell you where all the stuff is, and then you guys just go there with your clearance and get it done? Do you really need a bill? Do you need any of this in between stuff?
Wait, to be perfectly legal, no, we can't just do that without. He at the end of the day, David has an NDA, so does Lue, and many others that we talk to. And if they really care about this country and about respecting the rule of law, which most of them do, absolutely, that's kind of what we're limited by. But I think that getting Tulsi and her office to clear him is one hurdle, and then getting the House staff and the Sergeant of Arms to clear him is the second. I think that if Tulsi's office clears him, and the other aspect is he could be hired by Tulsi. he could be hired by the White House. If Grusch were hired by any of these agencies, then it all goes away. His limiting factor is that he's a staffer for a member of Congress, and the default clearance for a staffer as a member of Congress is the TS level, and they're not gonna. It's highly unusual. It's not been done for them to be able to give somebody a higher clearance than that. The only way that you get a higher clearance in Congress is if you're a staffer for the committee. So, which is why I tried to get Grusch on as a committee staffer for oversight, but there's oversight did not want to kind of break a precedent and do that.
Are those conversations happening about him potentially being hired by Tulsi or the White House, or is that just like a hypothetical?
I'm gonna say that that's a hypothetical at this time.
Okay, cool. All right, Tuba, do you remember who is next?
Let's see. We it might have been
Missile Man,
Joshua.
then me.
Oh, okay.
I think
we
it's
got
Missile Man, then me.
All right, cool.
Oh, Mr. Man had another follow-up.
Cool.
Mr. Man, then Josh.
Thank you. Last year, Congressman Burlison, you walked out of a SCIF briefing and made the comment that it seems as though someone has developed a new propulsion technology that might change our lives, or something to that effect. My question is it possible, it seems like it might be the case that over the past 25 or 30 years, substantial advances in successfully deploying technologies derived from technologies of unknown origin, materials of unknown origin, have approached maturity level pretty close to Tier L7 deployment. Is it possible that there will be a forcing function from emerging from industry where they want to start using these technologies on things like Golden Dome for America or NGAD or FAXX or something like that, programs of record that are large with very large footprints that don't exactly fit within the same black aerospace technology bucket as WUSAPs, and that it will kind of force us all into the light at some point. Do you see that as being a possible future outcome?
Yeah, I do see that as a future outcome. In fact, I think that there's some technology that exists in the B-2 bomber that is kind of akin to what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, I do think that the question that I kind of where I'm at is I'm not for certain, and I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that what we're talking about is reverse engineered technology. I think that, and I think it's highly plausible, probably more likely than not, that what we're seeing is advancements in technology that are natural advancements, and they're just being put into production. That's my personal view. That's why, at the end of the day, while I'm heads down studying this topic, again, I just want to remind everybody I'm still a skeptic. And I feel like I've got to remain being a skeptic until I'm convinced otherwise.
The show me state, right?
That's right.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Wow. Thank you again,
Josh.
Congressman Burlison. If you're out there listening, feel free to like and retweet the space. Give me a follow. Give all the speakers a follow. This is like, a chance to really get a peek into what's going on over here without the hyperbole. And we cannot thank Congressman Burlison enough for this. Thank you. Let's get to Joshua, and then we'll get to the next one after that. Thank you, guys.
So I'll start with my thanks to Red Missile and Congressman Burlison. Congratulations also, Congressman Burlison, on your new position on the Energy Committee. We actually last spoke in January of 2024 via Matt Laszlo of Ascapol. And I was telling you, at the time I was telling you about the aerogel vacuum sphere drone program at Los Alamos National Labs. Last week, conveniently timed for this, the U.S. government's General Services Administration posted a technology licensing opportunity for these craft to aerospace contractors with over 1,000 employees. Have you now had proper disclosure of the aerogel vacuum drone spheres out of Los Alamos, since they're being licensed to such large aerospace contractors that has the potential to replace a multi-billion-dollar helium and traditional motor drone reconnaissance industry.
I have not.
You should really ask about those. Their Department of Energy, Los Alamos National Labs.
I'm Googling it right now.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's great.
Dude, let's go.
I can tell you anything you want to know about the program, except the last thing that my whistleblowers within that program told me was that 2 years ago, when I talked to them last, they had not succeeded. And the General Services Administration now says that the vacuum drones have been produced, tested, and demonstrate that they can be manufactured.
Yeah, and this does kind of, just reading what's the AI is pulled up, does kind of allude to some of the UAPs that have been cited that I've learned about, that are absolutely not non-human intelligence. They're created by a foreign actor, and so
Oh, I might know a bit about that actually from the Russian aspect. MUFON has a sample of aerogel that came out of Russia that was tested by PRA, a research laboratory adjacent to MUFON. And when they tested it, the aerogel had been made of carbon-60 buckyballs, which no human manufacturing tech in America that's been publicly disclosed uses, and it had been in space. It had been exposed to cosmic rays and was then back in Russia. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I hear you. I was under the impression that there are contractors that make buckyballs, but I don't.
Cool.
I can't name it off the top of my head. But to your point, but I will say, looking at this is not like this is not game changing tech. It's buoyant tech. It would be interesting, but the UAPs that I've seen that might be using this tech are while they might be an annoyance, they're not exactly a threat.
Thank you, Congressman Burlison. Great questions, Josh. Folks, we have some regulars of spaces in here, but also some people who are great, but I rarely see. I want to get them in here first because we don't know how much time we have from Congressman Burlison. First, let's get over to Deep Prasad, and then we have Darcy Weir, Experience, and then Danny Silva if he wants to pop in here, and then we'll get everybody else in here, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. Go ahead, Deep.
Awesome. Thanks so much, brother. And excellent discourse there. I just wanted to point out that I believe there might be a translation error or something lost in communication around the engineering. I think Joshua is talking about not just regular Buckeye balls or buckyballs, but the fact that producing aerogels using these things requires a significantly exponentially more complex process, right? Because creating aerogel is like the lightest form of solid or matter, so creating large amounts of that is always a challenge. I wanted to ask a very sort of practical question, and I think Eric, I think you're doing a fantastic job here, sort of dealing with all these egos in the room around a very difficult and complex topic related to national security. So I just want to applaud you on that. I guess my question is more around the practicality around getting these primes to play ball. We're talking about the most powerful military private contractors in the world, right? The people who literally know how to defend America and have the most advanced technology, right, on the planet. And not only that, that comes with significantly powerful lobbying capabilities, right? Lockheed Martin has a very deep, powerful lobbying powerhouse, right? So, I think the heart of the matter that I've seen is that getting these bills passed that accelerate disclosure and are in the sort of public's interest, the hardest thing about it is the eminent domain. And I'd love to get your comments on if you've seen any progress or if you even agree or disagree on my position there, where I think that the holdup is that private companies that actually know something and are sitting on real assets that don't exist in any other private civilian lab, they simply will not hand it over because of the fear of eminent domain, where like many derivative patents and intellectual properties now get seized by the government, and it becomes this sort of cascading effect nobody wants to open, the door to. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
It could very well be that case, but I really think that the more that I've looked into this, it seems like what they're mostly worried about is criminal activity that they have been involved
Wow,
with, whether
interesting.
it's financially or otherwise. And so I think that
And is this based on like a sample of n less than 40 dozen, like, or are you just secondhand, guessing, like based on the actions of how people, where's this come from?
no,
You
I
don't
mean,
mind.
if you've got a situation where as a contractor that you're pulling in money and then you're spending it on other things, and you're specifically hiding it from Congress, they're violating federal laws. And so there's
True.
people that have committed criminal activity to do that, if that's the case. And I think that, and that's then that's without going into all of the whole um, human trafficking and psionic stuff that people talk about. Um,
So with
but
all that, how do you view the mass amnesty, the calls for mass amnesty, without even really knowing like what we're signing off for? You know what I mean?
I think that if you're going to get any kind of level of disclosure, we I have become convinced, and I can be convinced otherwise, but right now I'm convinced that if you really want to get to the truth and you want to get to the truth quickly and have quick disclosure, then you offer amnesty in a short-term window. So you say over the next year, for example, anybody that comes forward um, and confesses their sins is receiving amnesty, and after that, it's not there. And I think that will kind of force some players to come forward.
Great outlook. Deep, you got a follow up on that, and then we're going to get around.
I think maybe the fault would be what's our immune system and recourse looking like if there is recourse? How do we react to it, both from a legal standpoint, because like some of the top prime contractors might deploy some of the most powerful attorneys now, right? Like to state that, hey, look, we didn't actually violate any laws here, right? Like they could just like drag out a bunch of cases civilly at least, and even some criminal cases. So how do we deal with that? Maybe a legal fund that private tech funds, because I'd be down for that. I don't know, maybe peacefully, diplomatically, of course.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good questions. I've not thought to that level of detail.
No worries. Thank you so much. You have a great night, Eric. Appreciate you.
Great hearing from you, Deep.
Thank you.
Much love, guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Deep. Good to hear from you, man. We got Darcy Weir coming up next, and after that, Danny, and then Chris. Go ahead.
Great space, guys. Eric, it's good to have you here, man. I met you November 13th, 2024 at the UAPDF, the UAP Disclosure Fund thing after the hearing. But
okay.
What I really liked about meeting you is that you had that stance of being skeptical. And you said you're learning, you're open, that's great. My question for you, since you're still kind of staying skeptical, with all these different whistleblowers that have come forward, and I'm sure you may have noticed that it seems like we're living this kind of like Game of Thrones disclosure world where multiple different egos and personalities. They believe that they're like the one true God. And, Stephen Greer, some people refer to him as Hood Greer. But,
those are two different people. Those are two very different people.
But in interest of just like what your thoughts are on the possibilities that as a skeptic, some people coming forward may be less legitimate than others, you know, in terms of their story and trying to kind of like bring attention to themselves over, I guess, the greater good of getting some kind of truth out there for everybody in the world to know about this issue. Like, do you find that there's some that already you and possibly Grusch and others are kind of putting into the bogus bin, and you're being careful about pursuing that so it doesn't embarrass the disclosure effort? And while we're on that, you went down to shake some three-fingered bony hands I saw recently. What do you think of that? You think the Nazca mummies are real aliens?
That's a good question. So put yourself in my shoes, right? You're in this position, you're trying to investigate this. I don't really, I feel like if I close off individuals or people, then I may not, I mean, I don't want to miss something that may be coming from an individual who even has a bad reputation, but might be telling the truth. I don't know how to say it better than that, but basically, that's why my attitude is I'm not trying to play faction. I'm not getting involved in the factions. I'm not picking. What's the book series Twilight?
Team Edward, Team Jacob.
Yeah, I'm not picking Team Edward or Team Jacob here. I don't really care. I'm
But
just
honestly,
trying
I
to,
love seeing you with Greer and with Lue, right? Because there's this big old divide between them, but you are able to navigate both of those worlds, it seems like, pretty well. So that's promising.
yeah, and I'm not gonna, and this is it. I think this is like political instinct. It took me. I've almost been politics for maybe 16 years now, and it's taken me this long to kind of harden my skin to where when people say, you know, I hate this person or I don't trust this person or I don't, you know, I don't agree with them or like them. To be able to stand up and say, I understand that you've got that issue, but they've not lied to me. I don't have an issue with them, and I'm not going to let you dictate to me my opinion of that person.
You're being diplomatic.
Right. And so that's kind of what I have to deal with on a consistent and daily basis with this topic. Is just the criticism from others, and this attitude of, well, we don't want to talk to you because you're talking to so and so. That's something that we just that's kind of the Jersey Shore drama that I have to deal with.
But just back to, I had a couple questions in there, so I'll slice it down a little bit here. Are there whistleblowers that you have found to be bogus?
I don't want to ruin anybody's credibility, but I would say there's some that I don't know that what there's I believe I've not had whistleblowers come forward that I think are lying to me. But I've had people come forward that I believe don't have a full grasp on the truth.
Okay, possibly delusional. What about the Nazca mummies? You think they're digging aliens out of the ground down there, or do you think it might be all for show?
I think that the mummies that I saw are probably fake. The ones that were in Mexico City. I was hoping that I was going to see the larger mummies, the ones that Jesse Michael just recently saw. But that was not the case. So I guess in order to see those, you got to fly to Peru with special permission. And Peru is not exactly, and Mexico City is not exactly the safest place to go to.
But didn't they attempt to steal the Buga Sphere or something while you guys were
That's
there?
right. Yeah.
Somebody attempted to steal it right the day after I left.
Well, that's why we appreciate you, Congressman Burlison, putting boots on the ground and even going out there checking this stuff out. I mean, the fact
Yeah,
that
and
you went down there, and again, to remind the audience, I recall, Eric, you went down there because Grusch suggested, hey, you know what? Some of the stuff I've come across in paperwork matches the
Maria.
morphology of the larger mummy that's down there. Maybe go check it out. Am I
Yeah,
correct there?
let me nuance that. Like Grusch did not tell me to go down and spend time with Greer and Heine Masson. In fact, he kind of warned against that. But what he did say is that there is that the mummies that he's seen and the larger mummies that are in Peru are consistent with things that he's seen in his time of his official time, and that
Cool.
they were worth going to see. So I went there hoping to see, hoping that those would be the mummies that we were going to see. Turned out that they weren't. But the other reason why I felt that it was a worthwhile trip is that there were U.S. scientists that contract with NASA that were headed down there to take samples of the Buga Sphere. And if they're going to take it seriously and be there and take the samples, I wanted to be there to see it for myself and to see them take the samples myself.
Have you seen the video of the Buga Sphere with a fishing wire carrying it across the sky?
And that's probably the last one, Darcy. Love you, brother.
For sure.
So we're gonna get some divine
Yeah,
feminine in here, but answer that. And
I've seen people like recreate that, and frankly, I would not be surprised if that was the case. That it was an object that was being held by like some kind of fishing net from a crane or something.
And that's more than fair because it's a big claim. It requires a lot of evidence. You know what I mean? Looking at a spherical metal ball in Mexico City is, you know what I mean? I can imagine having mixed feelings there. But let's move on to the next. We got Dave.
Let's go. Can I squeeze in real quick? I got to get off here in just a second. Just got
go for it.
Quick questions. Hey Eric, how's it going, man? I had a couple, just two questions for you, really. Have you and the task force, have y'all spoken to Jay Stratton at all since it was put together?
No, we have not.
Have y'all like wanted to look into, since he's like Lue's boss and everything? Have y'all at least inquired about it?
Is there a reason why you haven't specifically looked at Jay Stratton? Has he just not come across your desk, or is there any like mention of him at all?
Yes, I mean his name has come up multiple times. It's not one of the ones that Grusch seems to see as a high profile or somebody that is a priority.
Okay. And then my other question was, have y'all been allotted, like, do you have an idea of how long the task force is going to stay together? Because I know y'all had like a certain amount of time and y'all have kind of gone past that and there's still so much to cover. Do you have an idea like how long y'all are going to be functioning?
Yeah, my guess is till the end of this year.
So you're on a time crunch right now with all the things y'all got on your desk.
We are. And I tend to think that time crunches are a good thing coming from the private sector. You only really accomplish things if you set a deadline.
Cool. Actually, on that, I got a question too. What are some things that the everyday UFO nerd can do to help all this effort? You think the person listening right now, what could they do to help?
Yeah, I think that putting pressure on the White House right now would be very helpful. And I'll say that the White House has been helpful. I think that they want to disclose. There's kind of an appetite for that, especially amongst the staff and amongst some of the cabinet members. But look, they've got a lot of things on their plate, and that's what this topic is a topic that distracts from things that are literally in everybody's windshield trying to deal with, like getting reelected. The committees that you're assigned to that have laws that are going into place immediately. It's not exactly that, and this is the reason why it's not been a topic that Congress has been able to focus on. Really, it's um, for me, it is very antithetical for me to be spending this much time on this topic. And it's
Are you an
at,
experiencer?
and it's at my detriment. So it's at my detriment to my campaign, to my reputation. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not an experiencer. I've never had some kind of I've never seen anything um, that I didn't understand.
You do
But
seem very driven to find answers here, like, or to find answers is what I mean.
I would have thought you were an
no,
experiencer or something because
Yeah,
you got the drive.
no, I'm driven. I'm driven by secrecy. I do not like a government that keeps secrets from me, from you, from taxpayers, from its citizens. I'm very passionate about the fact that the government belongs to us and we own it. We're the ones that they should be having to give account for. And and to me, the fact that they feel like they arrogantly that they can keep secrets from us is what pisses me off and what drives me to kind of disclose all of this stuff.
I think you
Cool.
just rang a chord with every single ufologist and you know what I mean, researcher in here. We all kind of identify with that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and especially now that I'm elected and I'm a member of Congress, and I still am having a really, really difficult time getting this information. It 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 it's really, really heightening my anger.
Sometimes
Oh
you
yeah.
need that to keep that drive going. Let's get over to Danny Silva, a longtime researcher and ufologist in the field. Congressman Burlison, I'm not sure how much time we have left for you, but we also have Ali Clark in here and Average
Can you
Chris
see
another
my hand,
question.
Tupa?
And
It
Taylor,
Absolutely,
keeps
we'll,
like
Taylor.
going down.
Oh,
Yeah, my shiz too.
I'll go and
there are some glitches here, so sorry, folks. Bear with us. Go ahead, Eric.
go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Speaking of secrecy, during the last hearing, I believe it was Nancy Mace and Jared. They were talking about they were told what not to say or what not to ask, something along those lines. Has that ever happened to you? Do you know who was telling them what not to say? They brought it up as kind of like a big deal. It didn't sound like they were talking about run-of-the-mill classified information. So could you shed any light on that, please?
I can't. I don't really know what you're talking about. I've not been told what I'm not allowed to say.
And just to follow up a little bit, they said that during the hearing. So I think a lot of Americans, when they hear something like that, they lose faith in the hearing process. And it was kind of it wasn't followed up on a lot, but to me, it was pretty big comments.
I'm not following what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll have
Thank
to
you.
go back
Yeah,
and look.
maybe we could pull the clip and post it on your account or something like that. But thank you for your time.
thanks, Danny.
Sorry,
We'll
I
go
don't
to.
remember it exactly, but
We're
happy
gonna
to
get
take a
some
look.
female energy. We'll go Ali Clark and then Taylor and then experience.
Hey guys, I'll be quick. Hi Eric. I wanted to clarify this and ask it because it's been asked by several others when I mentioned this in a space. But when Ron James and I met with you back in November, I believe, you recommended a book to us, and I thought I wrote it down and I cannot find it. And I'm wondering if you happen to remember what the book was that you recommended to Ron James and I. And you said something about that it had helped you sort of reconcile your religious beliefs
Oh yeah,
with the UAP narrative.
yeah. It's a book by a guy named Timothy Alberino called Birthright, and it honestly, this whole topic just kind of as someone who's a born again Christian, it kind of it is kind of caused me to not really rethink my beliefs, but rethink the passages in the Bible that I have known since I was a child, and just and see them from a different light. And his book is very academic. It's he really challenges a lot of conventional Christianity, but in such a way that I don't think is um, heretical. It's actually really well written, and it's a good book. So yeah, Birthright by Timothy Alberino, and recently he wrote he did a presentation on another gentleman's book named David Flynn called Cydonia, which is really kind of the ancient, like really the origin of all the ancient aliens stuff. David Flynn was ancient aliens before anybody else was.
Is
And
Cydonia a reference to Mars?
yes,
Okay.
It's called um I don't remember exactly what the title is, but it's David Flynn's book, Cydonia something or other. And what's really fascinating about his research is that he pulls together countless ancient religions and ancient civilizations and their and texts and like structures and megaliths, and kind of creates a narrative that that kind of pulls everything together, and really has quite a bit to do. He doesn't really kind of say aliens per se. He kind of he talks about civilizations that are off world that had an influence on prehistoric Earth.
Oh wow.
So it's an interesting book, Cydonia, and it's a book that's out of print. So if you try to order it on Amazon, you're looking at $2,000 a copy. The only reason why I have a copy of it and that I've been able to read it is that I met the family of David Flynn, and they had a copy of it.
Right.
They're gonna put it in reprint, and so hopefully that will happen soon.
I'm seeing it on Amazon for 300. Cydonia: The Secret Chronicles of Mars.
That's it.
Cool.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
Allie, do you
Real
want to
quick,
say something else, or?
Allie, yeah,
No,
please, if you have a
I'm
follow-up.
gonna let
Okay.
someone else go.
Thank you, Allie. Great
Yep.
question. And before we get to Taylor, I have one question for you regarding these books and your recommendation for them. Do you find that they reinforced your faith? And how has the UFO topic, as you've been researching it, has it reinforced or challenged your faith, or how would how would you categorize that?
Yeah, even if I don't have any evidence that the UFO phenomenon is real, I would say that this experience has really improved my faith for this reason. Um, it's made me rethink passages in the Old Testament and really the Bible in general, to give it a broader, more um, like universe, like a narrative, an epic. Basically, if you take into account the idea that there that God is using these multiple civilizations to deliver a message to humanity, and and you follow the narrative of the Bible, it makes the Bible a more epic tale, at a tale that's at a cosmological level.
I feel that.
And
I feel that.
and so it just kind of elevates the story, because it's no longer the story of just a few people living in Israel and the Middle East and their journeys. It's how that what's happening there is a fulcrum of what's happening in a cosmic war that's happening. And so it kind of opens your eyes to some things that it opened my eyes to some things that I had never really considered.
Well, I think that's a great segue to Taylor. Take it away, Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, everybody here knows I'm Christian. And one of my family members kind of started researching aliens, and that's kind of how I got involved in the whole UFO topic for the past at least 3 years. But I would say it strengthened my faith too, because the Book of Enoch, Genesis 6, talking about these fallen angels that came down. Uh, the Genesis 6
Mhm.
talks about the sons of God came into daughters of men, and they bore Nephilim, which are hybrids. And this is the civilizations that the Israelites went to wipe out and stuff. So Jesus said it'll be just like the days of Noah, and the kind of coming of the Son of Man. And in these times, we're seeing these fallen angels come into daughters of men, into women, and I think and men too. And if you look into the nature of the abductions, they're making hybrids. That's the same thing that was happening in Genesis 6. And Anna Paulina was recently talking about that too. Yeah, it's very interesting. I do think that if once you actually look into the evidence, there's a strong interdimensional connection, just like Joe Jordan from MUFON found you can end abductions by calling on Christ. I think y'all should have him go testify too, by the way, but apparently MUFON was trying to cover up that aspect of the abductions, that it's highly spiritual and it's not purely physical. And I was going to ask Eric about if the interdimensional aspect of it is one thing that would make it kind of prevent disclosure. So I'll ask that question, then I'll maybe have a follow-up after.
Well, thank you for your views, and I tend to agree with you. I would say this topic is inescapable from religion, and the more that I've had conversations about this, the more that I've interacted with this, it becomes abundantly clear that that religion is um, is unavoidable, and what your views are on on reality and your creator is kind of inescapable from this topic. And so some people tend to think in a more secular view, but ultimately they are still they're calling upon some kind of new age religion and gods, but and as opposed to the Chris Bledsoes of the world who are speaking directly to Jesus. I will say one of the more interesting conversations that I've had was from an individual who was highly recommended to me. Um, he came to my office and he was a high profile, um, very wealthy individual, very successful, and his entry into this phenomenon is that he thought he was going crazy. He was hearing voices, he was receiving messages, and he was a atheist at the time, and he was raised Jewish, and the beings that were talking to him started predicting things. He started experiencing things that demonstrated that what he was experiencing was not just him, or just delusional thoughts. And he was told by whoever or whatever that was talking to him over the course of the last couple of years. He's learned that, and what is his paradigm is that what these things are telling him is that Jesus a was a real figure that was the Son of God and transcended his human nature, and was capable of doing things beyond kind of he basically hacked the system, if you will, almost like a neo. This is the way that this guy describes it. So this guy went from being a raised Jewish turned atheist, having never read the Bible, to suddenly start believing that this character Jesus might be the real thing, and which compelled him to read the Bible. So
In the last piece, if I'm not mistaken, David Grusch put you onto this guy, right?
I don't want to say, because I don't want to. I don't want to.
Is this guy just a everyday guy, or is he like someone public that we would know the name of, or just like a
No,
normal
you
dude?
wouldn't know his name, but he's he's prominent in DC,
Hmm.
and he's
That's
very
interesting.
successful.
but
Okay.
not prominent in ufology.
No, he wants
Wow.
nothing to do with his name being mentioned anywhere.
Well, I respect that, but that's a very compelling story. We're gonna have people guessing for years on that for sure.
Let me follow up with him. I was just gonna say, one reason, like, I think that UFO disclosure is hindered because the interdimensional aspect of it. And one thing, like, that gets confused is just because there's physical craft or physical bodies, they assume, well, this can't be angels. This can't be, something that's spiritual because there's physical things. Well, I want you to understand in the Bible, it's very clear. Angels are indistinguishable from humans at times. It says, be careful who you entertain, for you may be entertaining angels unaware. They were physical. And when they came into the daughters of men, they were physical to have physical relations with them. That's in Genesis 6. And they also taught humans metallurgy and Enoch. So they taught them how to work metals and have technology. These are fallen angels. So just because there's something physical doesn't mean it's from another planet.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, whenever I was speaking with this individual, I personally believe that he's not talking to angels; he's talking to fallen angels
Right.
who are deceiving him. Because the Bible is very clear that even the fallen angels believe in Jesus and will not deny that he is the Son of God.
Which aligns with the statements or claims that invoking the name of Jesus would end an abduction or an experience kind of right there. Now, these are reports. We don't, I mean, it's almost unproven, but it aligns with this stuff. I find that it, at times, how close, religion is to ufology. And there's just a kind of a layer of ignorance between the two. They don't, you know what I mean? They're not always sharing information. People don't know how closely they align. I got to thank Tayler a ton for asking these questions. And we got to get to the next speaker. Thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Congressman Rose.
Experience and then doomer.
What up? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Congressman Burlison, thank you for chopping it up with us. Hope you're enjoying the conversation and getting a sample size of people that have really thought about this topic and taking it seriously, what it looks like. And we're just a small sample of people all around the world probably that are ready for this to get answered. So you doing the work is much appreciated. Couple quick ones. The first one is being that is the September 9th date that's floating around, if that's confirmed or not, if that's official. I went to the last hearing. I was at the UAPDF thing in November. Well, I introduced myself to you. I plan on attending the next hearing too. I'm just a couple blocks away from the Capitol. So that would be my first question, is the actual date. The second one would be looking at the progression of the kind of witnesses that are being brought to testify, and just me being involved with this topic since I was a kid, seeing how people that are speaking about this came from just regular civilians. Now we have, fighter pilots with distinguished careers, intelligence people, the progression of witnesses where they are now. On this next list that you have, my personal thing would be wanting to have, if there is a legacy program that gets uncovered and you have scientists that are actually working on this, that would be my star witness kind of situation where scientists can actually speak on data and things like that. Where are we with on that list? I think of James Lukatsky. I think of people that have been program managers that would, I don't know if these people are on your radar or not. Someone mentioned Jay Stratton earlier, Colm Kelleher, these people that have been around the topic and worked under government capacity that are scientists. What do you think about that?
So, to give you an idea who we've got, one individual is a former U.S. Air Force veteran who is going to speak to 5 UAP incidents during his time that he witnessed, and that he investigated. You've got another individual who is a Navy officer who witnessed UAP events firsthand, and um, and then another U.S. Air Force officer who has witnessed firsthand events. So we've got, and I'm not going to give their names, but those are the individuals that we've been working on. We often have people trying to get, that have already come out publicly, and I think that a lot of people some people want those, but I think that what's better is if we bring forward some new perspectives and people that have not come forward until this moment, some fresh witnesses. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Got it. And then the date, is that official or not? September 9th?
Right now, that is the date, September 9th.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping up here and chopping it up with us. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Missile had one, and then Doomer, and I don't know how much
I
we have
got
yet.
some DMs about regarding like people pressed for time, and I just want to shout out Chris and the disclosure. You guys might be coming up like earlier. Just heads up. Hold tight. So go ahead, Missile Man.
Yeah, thanks again. So question is, when David Grusch testified before Congress, he was asked if he was aware of anybody who had been harmed as a result of the secrecy of the secret UFO program. Has Mr. Grusch divulged to you any details of incidents he believes are homicides or harm connected to the secrecy of the UFO program? And then part two would be, are you aware of any U.S. servicemen who have been killed in line of action as a purported result of interaction with UAP? And are those events being investigated to your knowledge?
So I don't have any knowledge of individuals that have been harmed. I think that when David said that, and I'm not speaking for him, I'm just going to, what I interpreted his conversations to mean is that I think I kind of picked up on the background that there was maybe exposure that occurred that harmed individuals who were researching crash material, or whether it's even UAP or non-human intelligence or just otherwise, that some individuals had some kind of harm. Now I will say David has also given me a individual that that his community is very, very upset about, who died mysteriously, and they're demanding an investigation, and we're trying to get that done behind the scenes.
Is it a name we would know?
No.
Just a real quick follow-up. You mentioned there are some allies to your disclosure advocacy and on the task force within the cabinet. So then Senator Rubio, now Secretary Marco Rubio, was once active in the topic. Is he a supporter of your cause?
I don't have a direct contact with Senator Rubio, so I don't know how to answer that question. You probably know as much as I do.
Very good. Thanks, sir.
Awesome. Real quick, I want to get over to Osvaldo, who's been super patient. Hit me up in the back channels. New subscriber. Appreciate that, guys. Give this space a retweet if you can.
Pay to play.
Osvaldo, go ahead, man. Then we'll get over to Average Chris and then Doomer. Thank you, guys.
Representative Burlison, I would like to speak with you and your staff as soon as possible. Is that possible?
I don't. It depends on what your. I don't know. I mean, depends on what your information is, and I'm happy to. If you want to reach out to my office, they'll kind of vet you, and then we can go from there.
If there's a public contact number, we can put it in the chat there. So.
Yes,
that's not really. I don't have a public contact number, but I have a necessity to speak with you as soon as possible. Please, I would like to speak to somebody official. It's very, very important.
What?
Right
Okay,
on.
brother.
Thank you, Osvaldo. We got Average Chris popping up in here, and everyone, thank you for your patience. Doomer Skywalker coming up next. We got Warren, Greg, Mary. Thank you guys again. Go ahead, Average Chris.
Hey, thanks for letting me back up. So a couple quick questions, sir. One, the mention of Jay Stratton earlier. I'm actually kind of shocked that he's not a somebody that's being, talked to, given the fact that he's recently stated on the Age of Disclosure documentary that he has seen craft and bodies of non-human. So that to me would be a big deal, especially given the fact that Grusch used to work for him, UAPTF, and with his involvement with naval intelligence for years. Is there a reason why nobody's actually reached out to have him come up? I mean, he's made some outrageous claims.
I can bring it up to Grusch and see and directly why Jay is not a high profile and top of the priority list for bringing forward. I'll bring it up.
Awesome, thank you. And I guess I'll just make this my last question. I know you've answered a lot tonight. So I don't know how much you know with Jeremy Corbell and the Weaponized podcast and everything. Over the course of the past year or two, there has been multiple videos of ISR platform, military grade type of videos that keep getting leaked to Jeremy Corbell. Is that not a concern to any of your staff, or has it not been brought up? Because the fact that the timing of it's pretty suspicious, because that started to occur. Now I'm not implying anything here, but that started to occur when Grusch and it started to come around, and then all of a sudden he started getting access to these videos that a normal person wouldn't get access to. And it's been brought up by multiple people in this community on how exactly these are getting leaked out. Is that not a concern from a national security aspect?
Yeah, I would say this. I think I was just rewatching an interview that Jake Barber did on Jesse Michaels. And what Jake Barber said, I think the more and more that I look into this, rings true, which is that the assumption is that there is like a controlled, centralized information um, unit that knows what everything that's going on, and that's not the case. The left hand has no idea what the right hand is doing, and so you've got some groups or individuals or teams who are connected to, say, for example, Corbell. You've got others that are connected to Stephen Greer, and it's all it just it is what it is. And so we're just kind of having to spin multiple plates here from my perspective. That's what I'm having to do.
Okay, you mentioned you spoke to Jake Barber. Is there a potential for him to testify in the near future? And have you even looked into his background? Because there have been some pretty major discrepancies for what News Nation have portrayed him as, and things that he said about his service that people like me, who I'm an Air Force veteran, we've pointed out the discrepancies in what he stated versus what is actual, as far as his service. Is that does your staffers look into the backgrounds and things that people have stated publicly versus what can actually be found?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we kind of rely on Grusch, and Grusch is doing all the background research on the people that we talk to.
Cool.
Go ahead. Good question.
We got to get Grusch into space. That would be
be
amazing. Let's
that would be
manifest that.
so good. I think more Grusch the
Doomer.
better. That's my opinion. Yep.
I miss
We got
him.
Doomer coming up, Skywalker. Thank you guys for your patience, and everyone thank Congressman Burlison for being up here. Give him a follow. Just shout out hearts in the chat. Appreciate it, guys. Go ahead, Doomer.
Red Missileman Tupa, historic space. I feel like if we just throw one more heavy hitter in here, we might get disclosure 9 a.m. tomorrow. So we should keep this going. Eric, thanks for dropping into these. It's pretty awesome. I have a quick question or a follow up on Grusch. And I need to be honest, like I'm a huge fan of yours, Eric, but I'm way more on the pessimistic side when it comes to any kind of congressional disclosure. So I'm not being adversarial here. I'm just being honest. All right.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Thank you. So a lot of us remember the Grusch hearings, and when you have 40 plus witnesses, firsthand witnesses, or at least 40 plus alleged, you provide a bunch of evidence such as locations and give 11 and a half hours of closed hearing testimony. I personally felt like, why are we doing a second hearing with less, I don't know, hot or heavy evidence? I would have much rather skipped November hearing and just had, I don't know, the SCIF meeting that Burchett wasn't able to meet with Grusch. I would have much rather had the 11 and a half hour testimony disclosed. And so, you know, we have whistleblower protections that protect whistleblowers under the condition that they don't publicly whistleblow. And it feels very much like an infinite loop, like no disclosure is possible. So my question to you is, why should we tune in the September hearing if the real big disclosure hearing we had and, you know, with Grusch, we're still sitting on all of that to hit the fan? What is the logical argument here? Because I think this is above the law.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for sounding so aggressive, Eric.
No, no. I appreciate the question. To me, when I walked away from the Grusch hearing that we had, I thought, you know, it's really compelling. He seems like he knows his stuff, and I don't doubt that what he's saying is true in his worldview. But at the end of the day, everything that he said was secondhand information. So it's all him relaying things that he has been told by other people. This hearing that we're getting ready to have is predominantly individuals that have had firsthand regular interactions with UAP. And so to me, that is the distinction.
And but the
I'm
really
excited.
important stuff like locations, all of the important stuff can only be revealed in a SCIF. So even and people, isn't the explosive stuff going to be not in a public hearing?
Maybe his phone
Could have
died.
happened easily. He's been in here for hours.
He's got to work tomorrow, y'all.
I know, this is wild. He's on the East Coast too. All right, so let's
Oh, really?
give him a
Oh, yeah.
second. And round of applause, guys. Please retweet this space out there. Get it out there. It truly is a historic space.
Pray for Osvaldo.
And just tell him thank
Don't
you.
know what that was
I'm gonna drop down. You guys just tell him thank you for giving me an answer to
Will
my
do,
question.
will do, Doomer. You know us. We don't got dead space in these spaces. But as Eric gets his, you know, the phone together, whatever it is, think about any kind of questions you guys might have. I really do.
We'll do just one rapid fire, not like
Yeah,
follow
we
up.
might be in.
We're
This is
running
lightning
down.
round, okay? Make the questions more important, but you're going to get less time. That's just the way it is. All right.
He dropped down there too now.
We'll
So
see. We'll see if he can come back.
what stood out to you, Tupa and Miss Man and panel?
Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to be dead ass. I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this. There have been a couple jaw-dropping moments and things that have been said that I did not know, that have been not only confirmed, but sometimes ignited, things I had no idea of, didn't even think to ask these questions. I want to thank the audience and the speakers for popping up and asking those badass questions, dude. Shout out to Paranormal Chris. He pressed hard on the situation over there with Elizondo. People need to ask these questions.
I love that everyone is like pressing their thing. You know,
No one
it
pressed
was
like
like expected,
Osvaldo,
but kind of endearing.
Osvaldo's an example for everyone. Let it be a lesson to everybody. That's how you represent urgency, dude. I don't know. Let's hope he gets that figured out, though.
Do you think he was talking about Amy? Why do I feel like my brain just immediately went to
I
Amy?
don't think it's
That's
Amy.
crazy.
I think there's a suit in government I've heard mention of. I don't know much more than that.
Well, you know, I'm going to hit the submarine.
There's also that one Mellon talked about.
Nice.
Yeah, you're gonna hit the submarine. Eric's gonna hit Antarctica and whistleblowers. Chris was gonna, of course, hit the Stolen Valor. Ken, of course, was gonna mention
For
his fucking
sure,
resume.
sure.
You know, we were gonna talk
This
about
was
Lue. It's,
one of
you
the
know,
rare spaces where
it's
I was
fun.
in the DMs because I had two awesome co-hosts up here handling business. I want to thank all the new subscribers, people popping up here. You know, it really helps this stuff kind of keep this going forward. I had no idea Burlison was going to be able to pop up here. No idea that was going to happen at all. I just wanted
Sorry
to keep
about
the
that.
conversation going. You know what I mean? Oh, he's back.
He's
Wow.
back.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Eric Burlison's back.
No, my phone went dead, so I just plugged it in.
As Spaces
will do
veterans,
that.
we almost intuited that in the time.
You got the bug like us, Eric. You want to know too. We're up here. We're here all the time listening and trying to piece together
and I
stuff.
didn't want you to think that I was avoiding the question. Can you remind me of the question?
I can't because I don't recall, but if Missile Man or Red or anyone else in the speaker panel remembers what Doomer said.
How can you have faith or confidence in the process when it's a little bit circular in terms of the manner in which you get secrecy adjudicated by people being allowed to come in and give classified testimony versus public testimony? The juiciest bits are going to be classified.
Yeah, so that's a good question. The goal is to figure out a way to take what we learn in a classified setting and disclose it without jeopardizing national security. So we're going, like, if I walk out of the room and suddenly I say, look, folks, I can't tell you what I saw or what I heard, but my worldview is totally changed. Those are the kind of things that that I think that we can at the very least do. But I also think that what we can do is try to press the system and figure out any ways that we can to kind of to let information get out. Because I think that the intelligence community wants disclosure to happen. They just want to do it in such a way that nobody goes to jail. Really.
And also, is there and then we'll get to the other hands. What's the China situation in relation to all this in terms of like their reverse engineering? Honestly, AI, kind of plays into all this stuff too. Yeah. Is that kind of affecting our timelines of things? What do you think about China amidst all these
I would
discussions?
say China is the level of espionage that China is doing and has been doing on the United States is shocking. And it's something that for me, until I was elected to Congress, you kind of think that they might be doing it, but they're so blatant about it. That's what's shocking to me.
I have a question for you. Oh, sorry.
And a lot of the things that they're doing is conventional technology, like the balloons, right? They're very creative, but I wouldn't say that what they're doing is radically new tech.
Creative, but not innovative.
Right.
Yeah.
Tupa and then
quick
the
question. This is in regards to Allie Clark. Something that she said in a Spaces kind of somewhat recently about almost a movie recommendation she received from Lue. Now, Tayler earlier mentioned the idea of angels presenting themselves as people, right? And Allie was recommended the movie Meet Joe Black, in which the angel of death takes over the body of Brad Pitt. And that's basically the movie, right? So have you received any movie recommendations regarding this at all, or does that ring a bell or ring true to anything you've heard?
No, I have not.
Cool.
I've not.
All right, we'll slide right past that one. Skywalker's coming up next. Then we got Eric Hecker up here, who himself is a whistleblower. Thank you, Eric, for being up here. And then we got Local 5. Everyone's here. So go ahead, Skywalker.
Mr. Burlison, holy shit, I can't believe I'm able to talk to you. Retired submariner, 7 years retired. Super excited to be following this subject.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. It saved my life. So no thanks necessary. But I can't believe there isn't more submarine sailors. I hear Air Force. I hear all these high-tech engineers talking about this subject constantly. But I can't believe there isn't more submarine sailors chomping at the bit after Admiral Gallaudet's testimony, talking about structures and podcasts that exists off the coast of Catalina Island, but not in an open hearing, not bringing that up specifically, leads me to believe that he's being told to withhold certain things. And it doesn't make any sense because it's always been a subject that's been talked about when we're at sea, when we're on ops. We know there's a presence here. we don't know why there isn't more people openly talking about admitting the fact that we have a presence and we're always constantly surveilling each other. Like, WTF, can we just get over it already? Thanks.
No, you're right. And I would say one of the most rememberable conversations I've had was the one that I had recently, where Anna Luna and myself met with a whistleblower. I had to travel to get there. And I mean, it took me an entire day to get there and back. And it was someone who is coming from the the nautical source, and so the activity that's happening under the ocean is what he was talking about, and it was kind of remarkable. Almost reminded me of the movie Abyss. To give you asked me about a movie.
Oh yeah.
He didn't say Abyss, but the things he was talking about reminded me of the movie Abyss.
Now, in regards to the water kind of formation or the like almost jellyfish manta ray beings.
No, just that there is a structure in the deep ocean.
Wild. Thank you.
I'm not
And
saying
yeah, we're
that it's
trying to do rapid. I don't.
And again, let me kind of say this. I have been burned a lot recently by giving. So I'm volunteering information to you guys that has been told to me. It doesn't mean that I'm saying this is factual, this is true,
Absolutely.
this is what I know to be true. But I often get misquoted in major publications for saying things like, for example, that there are giants and there are 4 alien species, when I didn't say that there are 4 alien species. I was told that there are 4 alien species. So I just wanted to say that so that
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's great clarification. That goes for everybody out there clipping this space. It happens often. Remember, like, I appreciate Congressman Burlison for being here and passing along the information he's been told. I mean, it's an important thing. Now, to be an open book like that, it's almost unheard of, especially on this topic. So we should respect that and make sure we don't misquote each other and misquote, our sources here. He's passing along information that he's been told. Keep that in mind, everybody. All right, we got Eric Hecker coming up next, and then wow, a full.
Try and keep it short and sweet. I don't know how much time we have. It's been going.
Yeah. Congressman Burlison, please be open with us about when you have 5 minutes left, 2 minutes left. Whenever you got to roll out, let us know. Okay.
I'm good.
Cool. Awesome, man. All right.
Hell yeah.
Eric Hecker.
Hello, Congressman Burlison. My name is Eric J. Hecker. I'm a whistleblower that testified in 2 SCIFs in June of 23 in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee and AARO. I doubt that you have heard any of my information. I am very easy to get a hold of. I am unfortunately of the position that the whistleblowers that are trying to get information to people like you have a lot of factions in between you and I that prevent us from discussing things with each other. I spent a year at the South Pole Station in Antarctica, and I would like to talk to you about directed energy weapons at some point in the near future.
I would love to talk about that.
Well, you also spoke at the Greer event, right?
I spoke.
That was right before the Grusch hearing too.
I spoke right before the Grusch hearing. I think the whole Grusch thing. You mentioned Jesse Michaels earlier with Jake Barber. I don't know if you caught in that interview that he stated publicly that when he went to Washington, D.C. in June of 23, he went there representing a faction that was to gather information on whistleblowers to arrest for the FBI. So to present himself as a whistleblower now is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever seen in my life, sir. And I would like to communicate with you about what's going on with disclosure. And we, the people, need the truth.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I
Thank
would
you, Eric.
say reach out to me through my official channel on my website, or if you can through Twitter, and we'll try to get connected.
I have tried to reach out through you for Twitter. I don't know the proper channels to get a hold of you, sir. Anything that you can do to help would be appreciated.
Just give him a follow, and then
Okay,
you guys will be able to DM.
I'm putting the website in the nest
Thank you,
right
Red.
now for the office locations with the phone numbers. I was actually, in college, I was a staffer there for a little
Hell
bit,
yeah.
so I've been on the other end of those phone calls.
Thank you, Panda.
Right.
If you guys can get me that info, I'd really appreciate it.
Will do, Eric, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Eric's been a long time contributor in Spaces here, being very open with his experience and his.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah,
Very
appreciate it.
helpful. Awesome, man. Awesome. Now I lost track of who's next. So Missile Man, Red Pan, if you guys want to help me, that'd be awesome. Everyone, thank you for your patience. Thank you guys for being up here. Special shout out to Grider. Great work, Grider. We also got Locals and B up here and 5x5 finally. Thank you guys.
We've had the
I think it was Greg and then and then Mary and then Local then. But let's let B go first because she's a woman. We love her. And then we'll go
B.
B.
You love her. Go ahead, B.
Then Grider. Great work, Grider.
Sure, I'll be real quick. I'm so sorry. Hey, thanks. Representative, I would love to know your thoughts. I've been searching for more information. We've heard a lot from the different members of Skywatcher that they were directly involved with the New Jersey drone lab, utilizing psionics and technology. I'm wondering if there's anything that you can share with us to give us more information and knowledge about that data point of their involvement, and was the dog whistle involved with that?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. I apologize, but yeah, I do not have detailed information about that event. And
What do you make of the New Jersey drone wave?
yeah,
from your
I think
perspective?
that part of it is part of it could have been that there were Chinese drones that are active. I think that there were a lot of Chinese nationals that were arrested shortly after that. But I also think that look, when you see these when you like oftentimes the social media can create a dynamic where what do they call it, crowd like when people
crowdsourcing.
yeah when people suddenly show up at one location and play a song or do a
Flash
dance.
mob.
Flash mobs. I think what part of what we experienced was a flash mob of people that were that were drone enthusiasts. And
Oh,
I think that was just a phenomenon that we have to be kind of prepared for going forward. But that's not to say that there is not a threat, because I do think that there is a significant threat. What we're seeing happen in Ukraine and is really changed our outlook on war. I'm not trying to name drop, but one of the coolest things that I've been able to do as a member of Congress is have dinner. I had a dinner with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and at the dinner, Donald Trump asked Elon to tell those of us that were there what he had just told Trump about how warfare has changed because of the drones. And they went into great detail about how you've got some of these, you've got multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar tanks or planes that are being taken out by drones that cost a few $100s. It will change warfare, and it has changed warfare in that region. And the United States is not really ready to fight that kind of battle. So we've got to figure it out. We've got to figure out we're going to deal with drones, and yeah, all of that going forward. And it does change the security. It's not a closely held secret. It's kind of in DC. It's not it's kind of it's a common rumor, I'll put it that way, that there's a very good reason why that the president was sworn in the Capitol building and not outside of the Capitol building.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that I know anything in particular other than just what rumors that I've heard.
Yeah, and we've heard that too from our own sources that are pretty close to a lot of that stuff. That the weather thing was a cover.
I mean, if you think about it, you've got 435 members of Congress and 100 senators, and then you've got the richest people on the planet. You've got, because there was Elon, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, like you name it, all on one platform. And if you had a drone attack, like something to the equivalent of what happened in Russia, where the Ukraine launched several hundred drones from one semi truck, right? So the trailer of a semi truck is able to launch several hundred drones that are all carrying bombs. And how are you going to take out 200 drones,
Well, I have
right?
a quick question about that. Wouldn't the only answer be an AI controlled gun? Like, I know where this is in a military space, but I mean, you just got to put a camera on a gun and attach it to an a computer, and then it would be able to target all of these drones. You would just need to, you know what I mean? Enable
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, somebody's going to have to figure this out.
There's actually a startup doing just that. In fact, yes.
Missile, are you referring to what I just said?
Yes.
Right? Isn't that the only answer? Like, I mean,
No, you could also what amp wave or whatever the hell.
EMP, but
knock out. Yeah.
that has so much collateral damage.
Yeah.
Microwave weapons are probably going to be the most effective thing against drones.
Like the Pope's Halo gun.
Yeah. Well,
Laser
this
weapons.
is very. We don't got to get too far off track, but I'm really glad we went down this road for at least this little part. Red Panda, who's next?
I think it was Greg.
Awesome. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, how's it going? Pretty awesome to speak here. I just wanted to, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I just wanted to, first of all, follow up with what Eric was saying. I could say very confidently that, like with the New Jersey drones, that is a national problem with the Chinese. Like over Plant 42, over all of our test ranges in California and Nevada, Chinese using drones for reconnaissance, surveillance, that is a massive major threat. And there's always Chinese spies getting caught, they're arrested, they're here, they have their own cells, they do all that, 100%. But I have been here since the beginning of the space, so if you guys talked about this, excuse me. Have you heard anything, Eric, at all about 2027 at all? And the reason I ask that, well, because a lot of people wonder that, but for me, my personal feeling is just that I could be completely wrong, but it just feels like it's kind of weird that everybody's starting to be open about the subject now. Like maybe there is something coming. Like it's kind of random. Like this has been talked about for years, for decades and all that, but like it's becoming like really prominent now. Like maybe is there something going to happen, something going on that somebody knows?
What?
I don't know.
Can you elaborate? Because I don't know what you mean by 20. The only thing I've heard is that China is going to have to make a decision about Taiwan between now and 2027. I don't know exactly what you're referring to.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, I'll just, at first with the drones, I was talking about drones in general with national security, with drones flying over sensitive areas. But just with the 2027 ordeal in the UFO world, like people like Ross Coulthard and other people, they said that they have heard rumors about something potentially happening in the near future pertaining to UFOs, UAPs.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's some kind of event that's going to happen. And I take it with a grain of salt. That's why I was asking you if you heard anything at all, any kind of rumor from anybody that there's
Pole
word
shift,
through the
alien
grapevine.
invasion,
Basically,
imminent thing.
Bro, listen, there's a ton of doomers in the community who think the world's going to end for this or that reason in 2027, and certain people like Bledsoe have talked about it. And I actually want to get into this with you too about certain things that maybe Elizondo's lawyers have talked about, or people in the UAPDF have talked about recently regarding the end of the world. But that's the 2027 reference I think Greg's making here.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that reference. I'm sorry that I'm not.
You're not important enough
Yeah.
to get the bunker space, Eric.
I guess I've not been invited, so I'm not prepared.
What a bummer way to find out, right? Dang, dude.
Right.
Thank you, Greg. I think next was Or, and then Magenta.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Howdy,
Hey,
howdy. Hello, Mr. Burlison. Thank you for approaching this topic with such openness. I'm one of the many whose lives have been changed by encounters with intelligences and phenomena you've described. For us, disclosure is not abstract, it's an ethical issue. So, as you can imagine, it's maybe made things kind of odd, but consensus reality is not uniform. So, some people are uplifted by these experiences, like myself, and maybe to some degree broken. But clarity would vindicate experiencers and help humanity rise to higher understanding of the universe God created, right? And yet these bad faith actors still stand in the way. And destiny, is not meant to be controlled by a few. It belongs to all of us under God. So thank you for seeking truth on behalf of all these people here. I'm always praying for the daily success of your team. One question. I saw your picture with Mr. Greer and Mr. Batista. Can you open up a little bit about that visit if you haven't already? I haven't really been in here that long.
Yeah, I had a meeting in my office with Stephen Greer and Michael Batista and Michael Herrera, as well as some others. I think Jesse Michaels just interviewed one of them recently.
Oh, Castle.
Yeah, Mr. Castle. So there was a good meeting, and yeah, so I after the meeting in my office, I then took him out to dinner and bought him all a Mexican dinner. So that's the extent of that.
Nice. All
Did
right.
they order
I think
fajitas?
next.
Did anyone order fajitas?
Yes, I'm sure
I
that
knew it.
I'm a chimichanga guy, so that's what I always get.
All right, who's next?
Well,
We
God
got
bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Or.
Magenta's been waiting really long.
All right, Magenta, and then we're gonna get to locals, and then we got everyone else coming up. Grider, UFO intros. Thank you guys for being patient.
Great work,
Appreciate your
Grider.
work, Grider. Go ahead, Magenta.
Yeah, hi, Representative Burlison. Yeah, thanks again for doing this. So I had kind of two big things fall in my lap last Monday. One of them directly involving you, and this was the civilian whistleblower who apparently has been in SCIFs, and he's known anonymously as Michael, but had a close-up encounter that he filmed on 4K video in I think in Wichita, Kansas, around 20 years ago. And apparently he was speaking to you as my buddy Paul and I were working with Ivan Hanel on getting his statement out about why he doesn't want to come forward any longer. So I was wondering if you could comment on that.
That is that's an interesting individual, and I'm hoping to keep that relationship going and try to get more information. Right now, he seems very guarded, but yeah, I don't. Right now, I think that the problem is the problem is it's complicated things. The fact that he owns a private business and he's seeking a government contract, and he just kind of complicates the whole scenario. So the fact that he's not an existing contractor who's then bringing forward information, it makes it look like he's trying to use it to get contracts. But at the end of the day, I think that I'm not skeptical in that regard. I'm just telling you what I'm having to deal with. I think that he is I think that he's a patriot. I think that he's someone who wants to protect the interests of the United States. He's been able to get these videos and photos. I've only seen one photo and one video. And I will say that whenever I have talked about those photos and shown them to people that were in the know about highly classified um, um, U.S. military aircraft. The response was jaw dropping. People are shocked that someone who is an amateur or is not exactly an established contractor was able to gather these photos and videos. So I'm still trying to figure out what the origin is and figure out how I can work with him and help him. And so that I'm trying to be as transparent as possible without revealing who he is and revealing too much about what he has.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And then I'll sneak in one more real quick. Right after that, my research partner, good friend Michael, and I hopped into a space in here with an Italian researcher. And my buddy and I have been digging really, really deep into the Magenta 1933 story that kind of broke with David Grusch. And one thing that this researcher told us was that JD Vance went on vacation to Italy recently, and that he actually went there to be briefed on this subject and sort of the history of, possibly Magenta and the Italian UFO stories in general. So I was wondering if you knew anything about that, and if Magenta is on your radar, the Seoul conference in Italy in October and all that.
I mean, I haven't been invited to the Seoul conference, but yeah, I am very much aware of the Magenta event and the narrative behind that, and I find it intriguing. And I would love to someday make contact with the Vatican, and hopefully, talk with some people that are or get access to the Vatican archives. I think that would be really fascinating.
Cool.
Great
Yeah,
follow-up
we know
question,
somebody
Magenta.
who's.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, we do know
Appreciate
somebody who is going to be there soon, so we'll let you know.
You guys got to connect. And Eric, have you heard of Diana Pasolka or read American Cosmic?
I haven't read her book, but I've seen her in a couple of interviews.
You mentioned a book that kind of married together, kind of spirituality and ufology, and I think it was Timothy Alberino's book. But I could not recommend American Cosmic any higher. Like I really couldn't, especially in regards to not only the ideas how they connect, but the history of ufology and kind of how it connects to what's going on, even the space program. But it's very interesting.
Yeah. And she did get access to the Vatican archives.
She certainly did,
So
with a
that's
man named
pretty
Tim
interesting.
Taylor. You familiar with him?
No.
Oh, well, there's a whole backstory there. It's a deep dive. You gotta check
Was
out.
it's not Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
Oh, no.
Different Taylor.
No, different Taylor. Also, add my YouTube channel to your UFO documentary. What's the word?
Oh,
Palette?
have you
I don't
heard
know.
of Red Panda Koala's YouTube channel?
It sounds
Send it to you in
familiar.
the back channel.
Yeah,
These
it
are
sounds
video
familiar.
essays on the UFO topic that basically were unprecedented at the time. They came out 3-4 years ago, and they've been getting better and better. His channel's blown up. I
think my drone one's pretty fire.
they're
Did a
like
bunch of interviews with witnesses during the time and stuff.
Yeah, they're staples now. You got to check them out, Eric. That's a
Cool.
whole
All right.
deep dive you got to check into. We got locals coming up next. He's got a quick question for you, and then after that, probably great work, Ryder 5x5, and Ricky. Go ahead, man.
Hey, appreciate that too.
And we'll cut it if I can cut it off after Ricky. That'd be good.
Okay.
I gotta get to sleep.
Yeah, you're on the East Coast.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I won't get to ask a congressman a question. Damn it.
Okay. Wanted to
Go for it, local.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Congressman Burlison, thank you for making yourself available to all of us and spending so much time. It's very much appreciated. This isn't a gotcha moment at all, so I don't want you to think this is pointed at you at all. I just wanted to maybe bring some issues to your attention, kind of piggybacking off what Chris, who you spoke with earlier about combat vets kind of having some issues with some of the stories put forward by both Lue Elizondo and Jake Barber in terms of their service. I'm a combat vet myself. I served in Afghanistan at the same time and location and same timeline that Elizondo worked there in a counterintelligence capacity. I'm a knuckle dragger myself, but I've gone through Elizondo's own book, his public interviews, his military records, and there's a lot of stories in there and a lot of stories that don't line up. And he's asserted in his book that General Mattis responded as a QRF, or a quick reaction force, to save pinned down soldiers outside the wire in Kandahar. He said he was part of JSOTF Dagger, Joint Special Operations Task Force Dagger. And Elizondo's own timeline kind of falls apart
So
when
you
you
have
wind
an
it up.
emergency. Stop. It's for my son in case he wants something or
We
something.
got a little bit of a hot mic situation. Go ahead, locals.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
All good,
Well,
all
that
good.
wasn't my mic, but not sure what's going on there. He said he was part of JSOTF Dagger. And when you look at the timeline when he was there, the locations he was stationed at, that task force was Delta and SEALs up north, that commanded out of K2, and not General Mattis in Kandahar. Mattis led Task Force 58 for a few months in 2001, but he never commanded Dagger. He has claims that he used remote viewing to save his men, yet he dodges saying that on camera, but it's been written in George Knapp's book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. He says he doesn't know if he's killed anyone, then describes living with memories of men he's killed. It's all kinds of implications without receipts. And also with Jake Barber, it's the same thing. His DD-214 shows he was an aircraft mechanic, not CIA, not combat controller, not special forces. He even claimed to be part of liberation of Kuwait, which was 3 years before he even enlisted. Later, he walked it back to a non-combat support mission. So these guys build credibility by wrapping themselves in uniforms and war stories that don't check out. And veterans can smell their embellishment a mile away. And I've made an in-depth video that I linked to this space. I put it at the top. You're a very busy man, I understand. I'm only floating this to you in the off chance that you get some free time to look into these things. But a lot of combat veterans take issue with false claims. It's very important to us. And while it's not a leading topic of importance in the ufology space, I think it's important for you to know who you're dealing with. And frankly, I'm not sure Grusch is doing that very well at this juncture. So I just wanted to float that out to you. Look into this stuff, man, because there's a lot of inconsistencies, Eric, and it's not good. It's not good for you guys, because when you guys are pushing these people forward, when it comes to stolen valor and these types of things, it's a slippery slope that can blow up in people's face down the road. So I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We got a lot of great vets in the community who they're good at checking in, knowing those kinds of things. Thank you. I think next was Great Work Grider.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me up. So I'm a big fan, Congressman Burlison. I know you support veterans. I'm also a veteran. I know you had like the Veterans Gun Protection Act that you were pushing through a couple of years ago, I think, and it seems like you really support veterans, and I really appreciate that. And I want to echo, kind of, validate what 556 just said, that we have a severe problem with veteran whistleblowers who are veterans embellishing or even outright lying about their service, and it is it's an epidemic here in the UFO topic, and it's sad. It's just a sad fact, but it's extremely disturbing to us that our veterans that are honest about our service. And I just want to kind of echo that just to really be, do your due diligence. As far as veterans, we're good people, but there's a lot of us. There's some of us that that use the status as veterans to con people and to kind of validate their kind of provide a cover for their unethical behavior, and it's something that is extremely troubling to the to a lot of us. So I know that Grusch has been pretty honest about it. Grusch is a great, I think his service was impeccable, but yeah. So my question is, do you know exactly the origin point of this initial push for disclosure? As far as, do you know how David Grusch came to learn about these crash retrieval programs, and was that something that he shared with you, or can you guys kind of give us what's the origin of this kind of impetus that's happened since 2021? Do you know, from your understanding, about how all this started, this recent push?
Yeah, I think that in his role, he was uncovering some things, and I don't remember exactly what started it, but it was not exactly. He didn't just jump in looking for UAP stuff. It kind of it kind of kept cropping up. And then he was assigned the task of researching it and kind of pulling all this information together. And he was at such a high level of security clearance. I mean, really one of the next to the national security advisor, like one of the top, as high up as you can get. And so he was in a position that could actually look into this, which is kind of how this all began. And it wasn't until I was watching, I think it was Fox and Friends or maybe another show. One morning, I was in Congress for maybe 3 months, and I was just drinking coffee in my office early in the morning. Saw him come on the show, and he was doing an interview, and he said that his goal is to be able to disclose or be able to reach out to members of Congress. And at that point, I was literally elected for 3 months. I'd been in office for 3 months. And when I heard him say that, I thought, a member from Congress? Oh my God, that's me. I'm a member from Congress. Maybe I can talk with this. I mean, I was fascinated by what he was saying. So I asked my communications director, can you reach out to Fox News and find out how to get a hold of him? And so by the end of the week, we had him on a conference call, and the rest is history.
Cool, thank you. Do you know, just real quick, do you know, is there any are there any individuals that are representing like defense contractors that are kind of on the like on the fringe of this push, like anybody that's that's communicating with you guys, or anybody that may be influencing any of this that works for Lockheed Martin or anything? I mean, is the defense industry taking a notice of all this? Are they trying to participate in this? Are they trying to be involved? Are they, I mean, do you know, or is there anything that you can talk
I
about?
don't know of anything really, honestly, related to the defense contractors. I would say I've spoken with lobbyists of these defense contractors who joke about this. They don't think that there's anything there. So
Interesting.
and honestly, I have a feeling. I mean, it's not a feeling. It's pretty obvious. Why would these defense contractors, Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, why would they tell a lobbyist in DC what they're doing? They're not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
They're only going to tell them what they want them to advocate for, which is, nuts and bolts and dollars. So
Great way to look at it.
right. And so I've not heard anything. Now I will say, and I'm not saying anything that I know personally. I'm saying from interviews that I've seen, Jake Barber seems to have been someone that was contracted by somebody.
Thank you. And thank you, Grider.
Actually, great question, Grider. Great work.
Great work, Grider. And then Ricky stepped down. I want to give this question to Logan, and I want to give Congressman Burlison the opportunity to check out after that if he needs to, and thank him again. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you're doing and all the research you're doing, boots on the ground and otherwise. Popping in these spaces is actually a huge thing for ufology because, we find, this is conversation is kind of where it's happening. So it's cool that you're here, man. Logan, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for having me. So yeah, I wanted to ask. I was wondering about how like disclosure might actually happen. So like if you found out some information, right, and say like some UFOs are being held like in a warehouse somewhere, could you just go down to that warehouse, or could they just deny they had like any information about like a UFO being in that warehouse, or like if they were called to testify, could they just like lie even then that they had any UFOs? And ultimately, could you actually do anything if they decided to like not say anything about anything, right?
Yeah, it would depend on the way in which we identify the information and how we get the information. But like if it's not gained through um, through a secure setting and under an NDA, then it gives us more flexibility. In fact, some people really don't have advised that we don't go into a SCIF, because then what we learn outside, if we didn't go into so I'll give you the perfect scenario story here. I became friends with Matt Gaetz. When Congress, a couple of years ago, we were all called into a SCIF briefing, and it was like an emergency SCIF briefing that was being organized by Mike Turner, the House Intelligence Chairman. And it just so happened that a bill was going through Congress to reauthorize FISA, and conservatives were trying to put into the bill a requirement that if you're going to renew FISA, that you have to that anybody in the intelligence community has to have a warrant before they're going to spy on a U.S. citizen, meaning that they don't need a warrant if they're going to spy on a foreign individual, but if you're going to spy on somebody that's a U.S. citizen, you need to get a warrant. And that was highly the intelligence community did not want that. Mike Turner successfully thwarted that effort. But in that involvement, what he did, which I thought was an abuse of power, and may be the reason why he's not the chairman anymore, is that he basically brought every member of Congress into a SCIF, and then and in that briefing, what we learned was already leaked to the press. So I literally walked out of the room, and having signed away my life, saying if I talk about this, my firstborn child will belong to Rumpelstiltskin or whatever, right? And the press knows as much as I do. As soon as I walk out the door, they can talk about it, but I can't. If that gives you an idea. So
I
that's
just heard
why.
and Jesse Michaels was saying recently that he found out that members of Congress were being told in a SCIF some information that actually was bogus, that they were just being lied to apparently. And I was wondering how much of that takes place up there. You get told lies regularly in SCIFs that you find out later about.
I've not been. I don't know that I've been lied to. I think that if you if you lie under oath in a public hearing, that's clearly a felony. I would have to look into what could be, whether or not lying in a SCIF is a felony.
Great move on getting Grusch, by the way, because to help navigate all this stuff, having someone
real.
right there.
Well, he knows a lot too. Greer seems to know a lot about not just the nuts and bolts, but even the theoretical stuff, which I find infinitely fascinating. That's the cool thing about this topic, is no matter where you turn, there's something there that's going to grab your attention and be like, this has never been talked about. This has never really been solidified. What is this? It helps drive this topic.
It's gonna be epic when Burlison gets Grusch into space. We're manifesting it, everyone in the space.
Oh, yes, that would be amazing. Well, Congressman, it's been hours. I know you got to get to bed. How you doing on time? Is it that time?
Yeah, I need to go to bed. I've got an early morning, and but yeah, thank you for everything. I did not intend to take over your space.
No,
I was having dinner. I saw it ping on my Twitter, and I originally joined, and then I thought, oh, I probably should be anonymous, and then I jumped into anonymous, and then I heard you guys say something, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to be honest and just join. And thank you for letting me listen, but while I finished my dinner, but I did not intend to
No,
take over your
we're
space.
beyond happy to have you here, man, and well, hopefully we get you back here too. There's a lot of requests. Everyone wants to talk to you, and yeah, appreciate you hopping in, man. We appreciate everything you're doing up there. You, Luna, Burchett, you guys are really making stuff happen, man.
Absolutely. And I want to remind everyone. Remember, Eric has been passing along information he's heard. You know, he's an open ear. When you report on this, when you clip this, remember that as you put that out there, make sure the language is correct. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that Eric feels comfortable coming back in these spaces, and more congressmen and women do that. These spaces are more valuable that way. These conversations are obviously infinitely more valuable that way. Typically we talk about, you know, theories and ideas and you know, the gossip of the day, but to have someone like you in here is awesome. So thanks again, and thanks for all the speakers being super respectful, and the questions have been awesome. So this is great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you. All right.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Eric.
Good night.
Good night, Eric.
Tupa.
Wow.
You want to have a closing thought and maybe shut it down so we could get to clipping?
Yeah, we got to get to clipping, guys. You know how it is. Closing
Sorry,
thought
5x5 and Kimball.
That's all right.
We're gonna
Yeah,
get
I'll
him.
talk to him. I'll talk to him.
You'll be
separately,
first next
yeah.
time.
Absolutely. We're going to get him back in here. Again, it was
With
because of
Grusch.
everybody being respectful and the organized way we did this that he was able to, you know, if it was chaotic, he wouldn't even have stayed in here. You know what I mean? Let alone for all this time. So my guess is he'll be back. When that happens, 5x5, Ricky, you guys are first in line. Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
For sure.
That's why I just wanted to make sure we got what we needed.
How much
I was-
slander has he been sent about us in the back channel, Tupa Cabras, in the past 2
tell
hours?
us. I think that it's in the DMs. That's why his phone died. I think that's exactly why his phone died. Oh man! But thank you, Missile Man and Red. You guys held it down. Keeping track of everybody.
Yeah, great job, guys. Really great job.
Oh, you changed the title of the space.
Yeah, it's been Hood Rat disclosure. It's been a lot of things. I think people were. Shout out to the co-hosts for being aware of how that looked with congressmen who might not understand what a hood rat is, and then you know what I mean. But it is what it is. I couldn't stop it. Like he said, he got pinged that it was even happening. He popped in, then went down to thing anonymous, then came back up on his own accord. The title never changed. But we don't want to bury him. I wouldn't want that to come up. And you know, Congressman Burlison joins hood rat disclosures.
Yeah, that title was kind of funny.
It was funny, but I had no idea he was coming in. I had no idea that was going to happen. That's just the kind of things that can happen. And
Well,
frankly,
congrats on that, dude. Really, congratulations. Everyone did a wonderful job, and the questions were really good. And you know, I think he got an earful, and I think he appreciated it too, because we're giving him some, you know, some opinions and some things, especially when it involved the, you know, some of the military people that are in there that have some questionable, you know, service inquiries and what have you.
absolutely, man. I
yeah,
appreciate
I think
everyone's
it's important.
honesty, like the honesty of average Chris and local. You know what I mean? That's important. You know, it's really, really important. And Eric is a person who seemed to respect that and understand that. And I want to thank you guys for your service too, and just for committing time to come in here and be like, actually, you know what I mean? And that's a good thing. Obviously,
yeah. When I heard that Grusch was doing his vetting process, I did cringe just a little bit, just a little bit. But then I started thinking about it and said, you know, that's actually pretty good, because he did have a very high security clearance and allows him to look at things that otherwise the average person doing the vetting process would not.
And
be able
you
to
see that today, 5x5 from Ivan Handel of all people, that Grusch is like laying down the law on Lue in the back channels or some shit. That's kind of my read. I'm curious what Missile Man's read on that whole situation was, but
yeah, I'm interested in that. I did not see it, but I definitely want to. I did hear about it, but I'm really curious.
What did he tell? I think he told Greenstreet that Grusch is like a piece of shit, even, or something like that. Let me
Well,
see.
the jury's still out for me on Grusch a little bit, because, you know, keep in mind, everything that he brings to the table is secondhand knowledge. It's not firsthand. So I'm surprised that even made it through the congressional process of having him truly testify as an actual whistleblower, when he's not really the person that normally would be looked at as being a whistleblower. He just doesn't fit that category. But the information he brings is invaluable. You know, same thing with Lue Elizondo. I mean, he's made a lot of mistakes, but he did push this subject forward, even though many people in here know my situation with Lue. You know, it's its own thing, and I'm not going to bring it up now, but that's in the past. And as this whole subject and topic moves forward, I think it's important that there's a balance in Congress, where they, you know, I work with several congressmen now, where they have a question or whatever that's like kind of a little bit off the wall that they don't necessarily want to run by normal channels. And I work with them, just say, hey, here's my understanding of it. Or if I don't know the answer, I point them to the person that probably does. And it kind of gives them like another way, like a balance sheet. You got to have some sort of balance in there. And right now, I don't see we see a lot of guys that are being groomed that are going into doing these, when you see Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp parading people into Congress, you start to wonder, okay, what process are these people going through? Because Corbell has some questionable things, and and it's a whole nother subject for us to talk about. But for a person that's a skeptic, that is also a believer. I mean, I have my own internal issues that I have to deal with, being both. That becomes an issue for me, but it allows me in my mind to have that balance internally. I think that we just need that balance in Congress. We need the balance that when they hear some of these stories, that someone comes in and says, okay, well, we've gone through this story and we've gone through this video. It's just like the Go Fast video is a classic example of a video that should have been clearly identified as what the object is or what the object isn't. The altitude and speed and everything was incorrect, and it went for years before someone finally officially